Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show, 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and definitely crazy. Speaking of that, today, Hunter Biden's case, the jury selection begins on that. I was reading the New York Times article. They found cocaine on the gun.
Yeah, they
case.
did. Yeah. Yes, they did. Yeah.
Oh, my goodness. It just is a circus. So, of course, it's going to be a little crazy. You're waking up in the greatest country in history, and we're gearing up for a whole nother morning of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab your coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Did you have a good weekend, Billy?
Busy weekend. Lots of radio, lots of other stuff. The brightest spot is all the new snakes ate, and that's important. So they'd been, it's a little over a week, and a snake, especially in a new environment, won't feed unless it feels safe and secure, because feeding for a snake is a time in which it's most vulnerable. Yep. And think about when it's got food halfway down its mouth, right. Both of its defenses, bite and run away, are void. They can't do anything. Right. So they will not eat unless they feel, safe and secure. And they when you first get them, they'll burrow, and then they'll start exploring the area. And they're in their hides, they're moving around, they're curious, and they're starting to recognize that I might not be a threat. So yeah, other than that, busy, did some yard work. My wonderful, beautiful wife has this thing about how she ropes me into yard work and doing things that I don't understand exactly what I'm doing, and it's great. It's okay. Let me explain more a little better. My wife one year got me to paint the interior rooms of several of the house and do some yard work outside in preparation for my own surprise party. I didn't know. Yes.
That's awesome.
That is how talented she is. So this was yard work into some things that we did, and then it all became clear when we went shopping later in the day. I'm like, oh, this is what we were doing. Okay. Yeah. Nice. So yeah, she did it really nice. And we did some improvements, putting some flowers and things like that. And so it was nice outdoor work. And our two cats that we have like to spend time outdoors in the backyard, and they were very, very pushy. So we actually spent a lot of time just hanging out in the backyard too. So enjoying the sun. How about you? I know you got a lot of ranch work.
Oh, it's a lot of ranch work on these days. It's nice. Road repair, yard work, animals out running all around. Nice. It was fun.
How are the new puppies?
Their eyes are opening. Nice. Which is my favorite Ronald Reagan joke of all time. I told you that before.
Yes.
The eyes are opening up. So things are going well at the Hunt Ranch. Good morning, boys. That's from good. Nebraska, 5311. She's always great. She texts us the pictures of the food too, right? I think that's right.
Does, yeah.
Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hey, guys, I got to tell you, the Jeff and Bill newsroom is in a new location right now. Not that it matters to you, but
really?
We moved about a quarter of a mile away, and I've never done that before. Wow.
Nice.
Yeah. It doesn't change. I'll tell you, it doesn't change if you move 1,000 miles or a quarter of a mile away.
Yeah.
So
it's still a lot of work.
Moving. I hate moving.
I do too.
Who likes moving? I'm scrambling around here like a half hour ago going, oh my, wait, where is this? Where is that? I'm running all over,
What was the impetus for the move?
Wife wanted a new office or an office. She didn't really have an office in the old house.
Yeah. Nice.
So, and then the boys get 2 new rooms, finished basement. So we didn't have that.
Oh, that's really nice.
Yeah. So, and then, the Jeff and Bill newsroom now has a wall that separates me from the family. So that's good.
Hey. So they're sleeping right now. The previous 19 weeks.
Yeah,
exactly.
They can hear you loud and clear.
That's right. So good to talk to you guys.
That's wonderful.
Beautiful June. Yeah, go ahead, Bill.
When was the last time you moved? How many years?
2 years ago, as a matter of fact.
Oh, Billy. So not too bad. So okay, so this is what I'm asking. During this move, were there any boxes that had not been opened from the previous mood? They're just moving these.
Oh man, I've been complaining about that all weekend. I'm like, why? Why didn't I just throw this away?
Exactly. Oh,
You know,
I know.
there are
Yes.
like 20 boxes that we haven't opened. Before that, it was like 18 years,
Yeah.
you know, since we had moved. But I am the worst. You know, my wife is like, you know, it gets easier. You know, the more you move, it gets. And I'm like, are you crazy?
Yeah, no.
No, never again.
That's
Famous
great.
last words.
Oh, I'm glad you've got a new newsroom and everybody has their own room. So
Yeah,
that's
thanks.
fantastic, man.
I appreciate it. We'll see some changes in the new newsroom studio over the next few weeks, so that'll be fun. All right, 55 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, a man is dead after rescuers pulled him from Chatfield Reservoir. Multiple agencies responded to the scene late Sunday afternoon and used divers and sonar to locate him. He was removed from the water in critical condition and was rushed to a hospital where he was later pronounced dead. Authorities are investigating the circumstances of the man's death, but say it appears to be a tragic accident. 2 men are in custody after gunshots were fired at Cherry Creek State Park Sunday night. Police say the shots were fired into the air during a music event at the park's swim beach, where several hundred people were attending a show. No injuries reported. Jury selection is expected to start today in Delaware in the federal firearms case against Hunter Biden. Biden is accused of illegally buying and possessing a gun while smoking crack in 2018. It marks the first time in U.S. history the child of a sitting president has gone on trial. Former President Trump says he thinks there will be a breaking point for his supporters if he's sentenced to prison time after the lawfare experience in New York. It's success. He says success is the greatest revenge. Is that still what he's saying on Fox News Channel over the weekend? Here's Trump.
These people are sick, and they do things that are so destructive. I mean, look what they did from the day I got there. And I don't know, you know, a lot of people said we have no choice but to elect Trump. Republicans, because he's the only one that can withstand this. Don't forget, if it weren't me, they'd be going after somebody else. And I know a lot of the competition, they wouldn't do so well. They wouldn't be doing so well right now. They'd be saying, Mommy, take me home. I want to go home. This is brutal.
Yes, it is. A senior Israeli official says President Biden's description of a ceasefire proposal in Gaza is not accurate. Biden said Friday Israel made a truce proposal to Hamas in order to get some of the hostages held by the Islamo-Nazis since the terrorist attack in October. But the official tells NBC News that Israel didn't come up with the plan, only made some changes to it. News brought to you by Lair Fireplace and Patio, Denver's premier source for everything fireplace, patio, and grills. Locally owned and operated since 1954, online at lairfireplacepatio.com. The Rockies lose 4-0 to the Dodgers. They return to Denver today. The Reds are in town, 6:30 first pitch. Brandon McManus, Washington Commanders' career is over. The team released the former Denver Broncos kicker on Sunday. The move comes after McManus was accused of sexual assault in a May lawsuit. It's 52 in Parker, 53 in Westminster, and 55 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It is Monday morning and June, and that could mean only one thing. It's June, and it is Outdoors Month. Enjoy that. Blake Olson, News Talk 710. KNUS.
Want to take your favorite radio station wherever you go? Now there's an app for that. No matter where you are, stream your favorite shows. Tap the app to listen to podcasts, text message your favorite local hosts, call the show, get the latest headlines, and enter contests to win prizes. All in the palm of your hand. Available now for iOS and Android devices in the App Store or Google Play. And best of all, it's free. Download today.
So today marks the Hunter Biden jury selection kickoff. This coming from Fox News. What is Hunter Biden on trial for? Well, Hunter Biden is charged with 3 felony counts related to his allegedly illegal purchase of a revolver from a federally licensed firearms dealer on October 12th, 2018. Hunter Biden is charged with making a false statement in the purchase of a firearm, making a false statement related to information required to be kept by federal firearms licensed dealer, and possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance, the Department of Justice stated when charges were filed in September of 2023. The charges are based on a contention by the prosecution that he knowingly made a false statement when he indicated on a form he was required to fill out that he was not an unlawful user of or addicted to drugs. New York Times editorial over the weekend pointing out that this is oftentimes difficult to prove, except if there's cocaine on the gun case itself, which is what they found for Hunter Biden. The New York Times arguing Hunter Biden should take a plea deal quickly. This from Sarah Isger. He faces up to 25 years in prison if convicted on 3 felony gun charges in a trial that's set to begin today. In the meantime, his father is behind in many polls. His financial benefactor is reportedly tapped out, and his best legal arguments require gutting federal gun control laws. An embarrassing trial that he is likely to lose will only make things worse. Bill, I don't care about these cases. I mean, it's kind of, I felt this way about the Trump Manhattan, like business falsification, where I'm just kind of like, this doesn't affect my life. Well, it doesn't affect, and maybe that's just the government we live in right now, where we just go and rip into people's personal lives and find, things to charge them with. Yeah. But in this case, I'm kind of like, this just doesn't affect my life. And yet we're going to, and I know it's a political opponent of mine. Yeah. I'm not a fan of Joe Biden. I want him to lose. Part of me goes, let's drag his whole family out and fillet them before the public in order to hurt Joe Biden. But I'm just kind of tired of all the legal lawfare stuff.
Well, the thing for me is that, and I appreciate you using the word lawfare, is so this is Joe Biden's Department of Justice going after his kid. Because again, the assumption is lawfare. And this is what I've got is this yet again the Department of Justice running amok and going after political people and making sure they're gonna but the president's son. And this is the problem, is because the conclusion has been about the Trump trials, that it was completely and totally political. Yet nobody is talking about how this U.S. attorney was appointed by Trump in Delaware and has spent over 5 years, almost 6 years now, investigating the president's son. And again, the argument against Trump is, how many years are they going to investigate him? Oh, my God. We're going on 6 with Hunter, and we've got a gun charge. The number of people that are brought up on this charge and face prison is minuscule. Probably about the same number that are brought up on the charges that Trump was facing in Manhattan. But we're hearing none of the rationalization about Hunter Biden and the weaponization of the Department of Justice and how this is a minor charge and they're holding him accountable when nobody else is. Oh, my God, this is a miscarriage.
I'm kind of making that charge.
Well, a little bit, but then again, you get into lawfare. And the idea is, and this is why I'm really questioning some of the conclusions on the Trump side. Is this superfluous and rather stupid? Yes. Rather than the gun charge, should he be pinched for probably the taxes? Yeah, probably. Yeah. Because again, just like in the fraud case in New York, Hunter paid back the taxes owed plus penalties. Yeah. So he made it zero out, yet he still broke the law. Those are the laws that he should be charged with. The gun one for me is interesting, especially given Second Amendment rights. Yeah, because we have people like Rocky Mountain gun owners here in Colorado that would think that what Hunter did is not necessarily wrong, and so they would support him and those rights not being taken away from him. So
to that,
really weird
to that point, the New York Times, Sarah Isger making this argument. Hunter Biden's best arguments aren't even the ones he can make at trial. In his own memoir, he admitted that he regularly used drugs around the time he bought the gun. This reminds me of Andrew Tate. What we're talking.
Again,
where this guy
Hunter,
goes,
Hunter, I don't know Hunter. Doesn't seem to be a very clever man. I don't
These
know
guys
him, but I'm just
brag about this lifestyle.
Yeah.
Which is just kind of crazy to me. Okay, that means the outcome of the trial seems largely a foregone conclusion. On appeal, however, Hunter Biden, listen to this.
Yeah.
Hunter Biden is likely to argue that the law itself is an unconstitutional infringement on his Second Amendment rights to own a gun.
Yep.
So being an active drug user and owning a gun is an infringement on his Second Amendment rights. The argument coming from Hunter Biden.
Oh, I know. And it looks like our computer is just going to take over there. Hang on a second. It looks like we're hard timed. Sorry about that. I will stop that.
No, it's fine. We can go to the traffic.
Yeah, let's go to the traffic. Let's go to traffic. Let's see what happens. Okay, we'll be back in a second.
Welcome back. Am I on?
I think so. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, the computer is still
There you
thinking
go.
that it's a Memorial Day, and so we've got some behind-the-scenes computers. So we will have some surprise breaks today, just like we did there. As I was telling Mark Crowley and Adam, and it's great to see Adam back in the studio today, learning how to do the video stuff, that some of these breaks today are going to be surprises for not only the listener, but also ourselves. So they'll just occur randomly at times. I don't know, because the last one was not hard time, but it just started. So alrighty then. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, this will be fun.
Jury selection kicks off in the Hunter Biden federal gun crime trial. And here's my question to you. You guys know Jeff Hunt's here, rock rib conservative, MAGA loving Republican. I think they're only going after Hunter Biden to get to Joe Biden. I recognize that Hunter Biden, committed a crime. 25 years. 25 years. And do you think he's getting prosecuted at this level just because he's Joe Biden's son? I kind of do. And I think that they're really only going after Hunter Biden is to force all this bad stuff into the public sphere. I mean, guys, some of the stuff is just crazy what he did with his sister-in-law, his brother's wife, the drug addiction. They're going to drag all of this out, right? Hunter Biden is, at one point, the New York Times would point out, he's smoking crack every 15 minutes.
Yeah.
Like that. I get this is a disaster. And I get Republicans are kind of sitting here going, now we get to pull all this stuff out into the public. You did this to our guy. We're going to do it to your guy. This is really just about going after Joe Biden and trying to put Biden in a corner. It's election year. But I go back to what I said at the top of the hour, where I go, none of this stuff affects me or my family or the direction of the United States or the policies that we're implementing as a country. We're just drawing this all out, and it's going to make some interesting news.
Yeah, it's a good point.
But I'm kind of like, gosh, go solve some problems, guys. And now this is you got committee hearings and all, I don't know. Maybe I need to put on my Republican hat and go out there and this is a miscarriage of justice. Look how bad Joe Biden is. We need to go after Joe Biden and take this for the Machiavellian opportunity to sabotage our opponents.
I think you got something there in Machiavellian. I think it is a little bit that there is some on both sides. They're trying to score points and not necessarily on issues. And I appreciate how you outlined it that matter to the voter. And I think that's why Biden's economic message is having a hard time resonating with anybody, and why Trump's immigration message is resonating, because those are two direct things that people feel. And regardless of what the economic numbers are showing, the average voter feels pressure and pain. The idea that the GDP is up, the idea that stock market is breaking records, the idea that we have set, I think, 7 records on it's either NASDAQ or Dow Jones since the start of the year doesn't make anybody feel good. The idea that these companies are making more money isn't making anybody feel good. Panera just released in the first quarter of this year that I think is the first time in 6 years they had a growth in sales and in as far as revenue growth.
It is so expensive at Panera.
And that's how they did it. It wasn't based on number of people.
Exactly
it was based on how much they charged you. So they're celebrating. We made this money. We had our best quarter in 6 years.
Broccoli cheddar soup for $20.
And that's why, because they raised prices. It didn't have anything to do with foot traffic. It had everything to do with the price they were charging you. That's how they made it up. That's how they're celebrating. And then we turn around and go, why is everything so expensive? Yeah.
So we're dealing with all those problems, and it's another trial.
Yes.
Welcome to politics in America, where we utilize the legal system to go after our opponents. I mean, and this is where I'm torn. I get that he committed a crime.
Yeah.
I get that he committed a crime. And at the same time, I'm like, it's like with Trump for the last 4 weeks, I had to get up and spend my days reading trial transcripts
Yes, those are fun too.
in a presidential year. We're not talking about how our lives are going to be better based upon whether or not there's Republicans or Democrats in office. I'm reading trials. And guess what I'm going to do again this week? Read trial transcripts.
Over a person that is not going to be elected
exactly.
to an office. Yeah. This is why we can't have nice things.
All right, let's go to the callers. By the way, give us a call. What do you think about this? 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. Mary in Wyoming, you're on the Jeff and Bill show. Good morning.
Morning.
Good morning. My concern is that I understand what you're saying, both of you, regarding that it's a legal issue. But unfortunately, it was being taken long before Trump had all of his issues too. My concern is that, to me, the Bidens keep getting passes on what they're doing. Recently, last week, you had mentioned, Bill, that it wasn't proven that was it the daughter or the granddaughter's journal?
Yeah.
And the thing. Well, the Daily Mail had an article where it confirmed that she has publicly announced that it was her journal, and yes, she did feel molested. Yeah. And again, nothing ever happens on that.
Well, here, Mary, hang on a second, Mary. That is true. The point that I was making was that the caller said that Biden is a predator, a pedophile. And the point I'm making is, if that is true, we have 30 years of his public service. In fact, him serving in 2 terms as vice president and 1 as president. If there was something there, opponent research should have and probably would have turned it up. I find it hard to believe that he is a long-term predator that is able to cover it up. Now, is there a possible instance with the daughter? Yes. I've never seen that adjudicated one way or another. I don't say that did not happen.
That's the point.
But hang on a sec.
And then if it goes...
But hang on a sec. Based on the time frame and when it happened, what do you want to have done? Are you looking for him just to have a scarlet letter and we all come out and chanted him, shame, shame, shame? What do you want to have done? Because it's one allegation that can't, based on the time frame, it's very difficult to prove, and we have no corroborating witnesses or evidence. We don't even have, so far, anybody else that Biden has molested. It's a really, really tough case to have. So, I mean, you've got a lot more stuff with Hillary and Bill going after them. But Mary, what do you want to have happen with that?
There have been allegations about Biden. And again, they get swept because of the media, they get swept under and they don't get pursued.
Hang on. Wait, Mary, hang on a second.
Yes.
Are you telling me that the allegations of the man that was running as vice president under Barack Obama and the guy that ran for president against Trump, nobody was curious about that? And I'm not. You're hanging this jacket on the media. I'm telling you, there are people that are paid 6-figure salaries yearly, sometimes 7, to find dirt about your political opponent. It should tell us something that they haven't found that about Biden. Regardless of the media, the media doesn't have time, but given he's running for vice president, do you understand what would happen to Barack Obama's chances to get elected or reelected if he had picked a pedophile as his Veep? He's done. That's all they would have had to do. So the idea that we're saying the media didn't do this, we have people that are paid 6 to 7 figures that do this,
and they don't pursue it.
They
don't pursue the thing about Ukraine. And that man obviously has a thing with China and etc. And they can't find the proof.
Mary,
and there's nobody searching that hard.
Let's walk through Ukraine. Ukraine is a bogus storyline based on the timeline, not an opinion, based on time. Time disproves the Ukraine narrative. It didn't happen.
And when he said that, you mean, and when he had that announced, and you have clips of it where he was talking about how he stopped that investigation.
Yep. No, he didn't. He didn't stop the investigation at all, Mary. That is a false narrative. And let me walk you through it.
I see.
Mary, hang on a sec. This is not my opinion. This is how time worked. This is what was going on. I'm not giving you any opinion in this. I'm just telling you factually. I'm going to walk you through what happened. In 2012, there was an investigation that was opened up into Burisma by the Attorney General of Ukraine. I don't remember what they're actually called at that time. 2014, 2 years later, Hunter Biden is named as a member of the board. Early in 2015,
Is that true? Was he a member of the board?
In 2014, but the investigation started in 2012. That's important. Okay. Now, the investigation was closed when they named a new prosecutor early in 2015. Everybody felt that prosecutor was dirty and in the pocket of many Russian oligarchs. There has been some proof to that afterwards. Every Western power, including the U.S., had a official platform of removing this prosecutor. The prosecutor, again, early in 2015, shut down the investigation into Hunter Biden and Burisma. When Joe Biden went to Ukraine, there was no investigation. Joe Biden advocated for the prosecutor to be removed. Now, he did foolishly brag, I'm the one that got it done. Don't care about that. But it happened in 2015. Late 2015 to 2016, the prosecutor is removed. The new prosecutor that is brought up in 2016 reopened the investigation. So here's the problem with the timeline. It doesn't work that Joe Biden went to Ukraine and stopped an investigation. The investigation wasn't happening, and when the prosecutor that he advocated to be removed was removed, the investigation reopened. The entire timeline, the entire narrative of Burisma and Ukraine and Biden has been a lie. Comer's been lying to you. Jim Jordan's been lying to you. And this is not my opinion. This is functionally how linear time works.
Bill,
this is when these events happen.
Why was Hunter Biden on the board of Burisma? Here you have a
Public
crackhead.
Public relations.
Come on.
No, absolutely. No. What do you mean? Hang on a sec. Hold on.
Public relations.
Yes.
They wanted to influence Joe Biden.
Hang on a sec. They wanted to influence a lot of people. They wanted to get rich. Yes. Just like you put Donald Trump's kids on boards, just like you put Kushner kids on boards. It's same thing. Rich kids get these type of positions. Yes. Absolutely.
What positions what boards are the Trump kids on?
Again, if you want me to get, I didn't know I was going to have to go through rich kids sitting on boards here today, but I will have to go through it. But again, his position was nominal at best. He didn't do anything. It was only there.
Paid.
Yeah, absolutely.
He was getting paid.
Yeah, rich kids get jobs where they get paid for nothing.
And I don't see how this is any different than Menendez.
But hang on. Okay, so you're saying that it's influence. So
right.
What influence happened? Because
that's the key. That's why I think they're trying to investigate.
That's what we have not been. See, that's what's not being proved by. You said they're supposed to be journalists. They should be investigating that. And the thing with China,
there was an investigation. Mary, after Joe Biden had the person removed, after Joe Biden had the attorney general removed, the investigation continued. It continued. There was an investigation. What you're moaning about, Mary, happened. The problem is Joe Biden didn't stop an investigation. In fact, he caused it to continue. That's the problem in the narrative. We can talk about why Hunter Biden was on there.
Exactly what I'm saying about how you defend Biden and all of his things.
I'm defending time. Mary, I'm defending how time works. This is just linear time. No, this is how time works. I'm just telling you what happened.
He gets a pass for all the dirt that he's done. He gets a pass for it.
Mary, I agree with you that there's definitely a double standard. But here's the question I have for you, Mary. We're going into an election season where policy. Oh, we lost her.
I just lost her.
Okay.
Yeah.
Mary, thanks so much for the call. But so we're going to go into another trial. Here's where we are in American politics. We're going into another trial in an effort to use law to go after political opponents. How do you feel about that? 303-696-1971. It looks like we were able to press through that little computer issue there, Bill. So let's go to the calls. Let's go to Dwayne. Divide, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710. KNUS. Good morning, Dwayne.
Good morning, gentlemen. I didn't realize that there was going to be such a massive clogging and unclogging of plumbing from all around both sides of the political aisle, because there's going to be so much what's the word I'm looking for here that I can use on the radio? Sludge for both sides to sit there and run through for everybody to smear and go with. I have much more colorful language, but it's not 7 o'clock yet, and I haven't had my second cup of Witina, so I'm doing from there. But do we really need this? I think we do. I think we need to have Trump being splashed around, because $200 million later, we've seen that the court of public opinion outweighs the courts in New York.
Yeah.
Now, Hunter Biden, on the other hand, I'm suspecting in the next 93 minutes or so, there's going to be a plea deal that we're going to see hushed up, sealed, and everything's going to go away.
Yeah, that's what the New York Times is arguing, because there's a lot of personal issues that are going to come out. Relationships between Hunter and his brother's ex or widowed wife, all his drug use, emails, pictures, all that's going to come up. But Dwayne, here's the bigger question I'm trying to get to. We now live in a country where we're going to elect presidents based upon the legal outcome, either against Donald Trump or Hunter Biden in an effort to get to Joe Biden. Are we electing candidates based upon legal trials?
No, we shouldn't be. But the Democrats started this game. The Republicans are late coming into it. And if there's going to be a bloody bare knuckles fight, let's just get started with it and change the country. Nobody seems to understand that for the longest time, Republicans sat back going, we're above this kind of thing. Yep. We don't do that. And the Democrats have been naughtier, nastier, and uglier. And look what they did to Reagan. You want to go back 40 years and see what they started there. And it's just been a continual downhill slide. Now, the fun thing with Hunter is that it's going to be very sensationalistic. Now, as far as pedo Biden goes, there's enough pictures of him sniffing a little girl's hair and grabbing women and doing things. There's a video of Eva Mendes that came over to support him, and he's grabbing her all over her upper chestal area, and she backs off like she's just found herself standing there in a nuclear waste dump. The man's got issues, and he has some, what's the word I'm looking for? Old-fashioned thoughts about people of darker skin. And it's been clips. You can find them anywhere online. Is Joe Biden the best person ever? No. Is Trump the best person in a lot of ways? No. But hey, this is who we have at the dance right now. So we need to sit there and say, what direction do we want to go?
Dwayne, great call. I appreciate it. Thanks so much. Dwayne from Divide. His line will be open 303-696-1971. Let's go to Marty, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Marty.
Hey, you guys. So good to be with you. Hey, I want to wish and send a belated congratulations to Billy. You got Trump. Good job. Now, do we hang him from the end of the noose, or do we just stick a bullet in his head? Because book counting errors like that won't stand in America. But in contrast, we do actually have real crimes committed by a true deviant, a pervert named Hunter Biden. And I think what you're seeing, and then happy Pride Month, Billy. I think what you're seeing with Billy, though, a little bit, and it's that Trump derangement syndrome, is that our dislike for Trump is so strong that we begin to make excuses for evil and wicked people like Joe Biden. Of course, he won the 2020 election with 80 million votes, and we don't get any pushback from these sort of, if you're a non-Trumper, you're finding yourself defending the establishment, defending Joe Biden. I don't care that Donald Trump makes you feel insecure inside, maybe says some things that you yourself would be uncomfortable with. You've got two choices, and there's no guarantee we're even going to survive the first mistake and get to this next election. So it just blows me away here in a conservative station that we have we should have bloodthirsty, because for your own survival as a Republican, you don't have a choice. You have to fight and go all in. But the big difference, and I heard Billy trying to insinuate this, Donald Trump's crime was unprecedented. We don't have another case that looks like this book counting error in New York. We got a lot of thugs, though, that lied on a gun permit, that are addicted to drugs. Hunter Biden is nothing special. This is no royal son. So let's do this.
The gun crime isn't prosecuted that long. That's not prosecuted that often, Marty. And you know that. You know that, man.
Oh, okay. But exactly.
You know that it's not prosecuted often.
Point.
Yeah, it's a point that I made as well.
Lying on a gun application. So, but think about this. If you put Hunter Biden in jail for life, that doesn't affect the election. When you do it to Donald Trump, it changes the history of the world.
But what about, hold on, Marty, what about the laptop? Because I've been told for years that the fact that we didn't see Hunter Biden's laptop before the 2020 election, that was election interference, and it changed the course of history. Do you agree with that?
100%. Are you kidding me?
Wait, hang on a
We are
sec. Hold
living-
on a sec. Hold on. Wait, hold on. Tell me why putting Hunter Biden in prison for life doesn't impact the election and doesn't matter because Donald Trump's the one running, but yet the laptop does. So in some instances, you're saying the Hunter thing does matter, but in other ones, the Hunter doesn't matter. Okay.
Well, okay, fair enough. But here we go. Okay, so the Hunter Biden evidence in 2020, in which it showed this collusion, and you know for a fact that Hunter Biden being on the board in Ukraine, he doesn't speak energy, he doesn't speak Ukraine. Come on, Stevie Wonder can see what was going on there. Helen Keller can see it. Now, come on, you're
it
smarter
doesn't mean,
than that.
but it doesn't mean corruption, Marty. None of it proves corruption.
Oh no, you don't. It doesn't have to prove. But that's what we're talking about. The favors. That's what we're talking about. The bank.
Well, yeah. Rich kids get rich kid favors. Mnuchin, who was the Treasury Secretary underneath Trump, he was named one of the top guys at the investment firm where his daddy worked. And you understand you understand Mnuchin ran a mortgage company that took people's houses in 2008 and 2009, and it was funded by George Soros. Again, this is how rich people work. This is how it works, man. That's how it works. I agree with you. But again, it doesn't say corruption.
Steve Mnuchin is scumbag. I wouldn't let him babysit your kids, okay? He wouldn't come around. None of those people would be fit for, regular life, but they are somehow in this. But, Billy, that's a great point. You're on the right angle, but check it out. We had 51 former intelligence officers fraudulently signed their name to a document that said that Hunter Biden laptop was Russian disinformation. Now the federal government is going to have to authenticate that laptop during this trial because it is evidence. And so it's going to come out, much like COVID and all the shot data. Of course, those that were inclined knew the COVID shot was bad at the time. We're just now getting that information 3 years later.
Man, Marty, the COVID shot's
Marty,
not bad
appreciate
at all, man.
the call.
That,
Thanks so much. We're just out of time. This is this is where we're going to be again.
Yep, this
debating legal issues during the presidential election. All right, when we come back, the president's kid. At the end of the day, this is about getting to Joe Biden. They're going to go through Hunter. If his last name was not Biden, this thing would have been pled out. And but here we are. All right, we'll get to You Choose the News next. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
conversation. Thanks to everybody that called in. Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. All right, you choose the news.
All right, and Sam, if you're hanging with us, we will make you our next caller. But first, it is that time of the morning where we play everybody's favorite fake or radio news game show, You Choose the News. We've scoured the interwebs for mere moments this morning to find stupid stories about us humans and to play this fake radio news game. Here's how it works. I read the headlines. Jeff and Blake Olson from our news department choose the stories. No, we have no idea that we are doing this. The powers that be, they would tell us to stop immediately. And as a reminder, this is proudly not sponsored by Rollout Shelves. They are a serious company that would not be associated with anything as stupid or silly as this. They will come to your house and fix all of your clutter issues with a free estimate. RollTheMountShelves.com. Great mother-son team, but shh, do not tell them about this. Alrighty, gentlemen, here are our headlines. Headline number 1, debt plan from Dave Ramsey. Headline number 2, gifts because it didn't work. Headline number 3, we don't have to solve all the problems. And headline number 4, squeezing alternative fruit. Alrighty.
Start with the alternative fruit.
Yes, squeezing alternative fruit. That is what many juice manufacturers are going to have to do. They are exploring orange alternatives. You see, 70% of oranges are grown in Florida and Brazil, and they have been devastated by disease and weather. Orange trees in Brazil suffer from a disease known as citrus greening. Once infected, the citrus trees produce fruit that are partially green, small, misshapen, bitter, and there's no cure. Typically, the trees will die within a few years of infection. Just in April, the price went up from beginning of April to right now 33%. So orange juice may be luxury, or we're all going to be drinking Sunny D.
I was going to say, just go to Sunny D, because that's got to be natural.
That stuff is awful. Okay. All righty. Second choice, sir. Debt plan, not from Dave Ramsey. Gifts because it didn't work, or we don't have to solve all the problems.
Debt plan from my friend Dave Ramsey.
Yes, well, this is a debt plan that is definitely not from Dave Ramsey. This is Bo Thomas Burkle, 39 years old, of Muncie, Indiana, recently happened upon an ingenious way to solve his debt problems. He was sitting outside the Cheers barbecue restaurant when the liquor delivery truck showed up. He said, "Hey, looks like I know what I need to do." He jumped in the truck and stole it. Promptly drove away. See, he is trying to pay an outstanding drug debt. He had the idea that if he was able to sell the liquor, he could pay off his debt. Bing, bang, everything's done. Problem is, when you steal the liquor truck, they tend to notice and come looking for it. And the police notice it's a fairly large truck with signage on the side. So when you hide it behind the local Shriners Club, they see it pretty quickly. When the police approached the truck, Mr. Burkle ran out of the truck into the woods, because that always works. They found him hiding under a bush.
Was that Hunter Biden?
Yeah, I know. Exactly. Like, that's fantastic. I keep looking at the idea of he sat there and he's like, "Oh man, I can steal this truck and I pay off my drug debts. I steal the truck." And step two. Step two. What is step 2? Again, you didn't get past step 1. I just please.
He's gonna open a little curbside lemonade stand.
Exactly. What's he gonna do? All right, Blake Olson, final choice this morning: gifts because it didn't work, or we don't have to solve all the problems.
Gifts because it didn't work.
Yes, gifts because it didn't work. That is the brand new trend online from a company called Fresh Starts. You've done the baby registry. You've done the gift registry. Get ready for the divorce registry. Fresh Starts is a startup company started by a couple of women that say what they do is they do gift registries for people after they are divorced, because oddly enough, sometimes you lose some of your stuff and you need to replace it. And so they have a whole bunch of things, from sheets to kitchen items, everything else, even have a podcast that's starting. I just thought it was really interesting that they're transitioning that into divorcing. We do it so often. Wow. Now you have a divorce registry. You can really find out who your real friends are. Yeah, when you're in that kind of situation, just saying. So
that's creativity.
Yep, it is. That's it. We'll chat with Blake Olson in just a minute. That is the end of You Choose the News. Back to you, sir.
All right. I think we got some time. Let's go to Sam, Denver. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Sam.
Hey, good morning. Comments about Burisma. Billy, I think you're being ridiculous with this rich kids get jobs. The Trump kids are fine, upstanding citizens. I mean, Hunter Biden is a crack addict, a known crack addict. In fact, a week or two before he got hired on Burisma, he was administratively discharged from the Navy for cocaine failing a cocaine test. So a real board of directors is not going to put a guy like this on their board.
I disagree with you. I would be pretty certain that we have drug issues on a number of boards at large companies around the world. So the idea that it disqualifies, I totally disagree. And Hunter Biden also has a degree from both Georgetown and Yale. I mean, he has got some stuff behind him that doesn't mean
oil and gas
no. Hang on, Sam.
Oil and gas.
I get yes. It is a figurehead position, but Sam, but it doesn't mean corruption.
We're out of
It's figurehead,
time.
not
We're out of
corruption.
time. Oh my goodness, Bill. The scholars are right on this one, in my opinion. All right, we'll
not
continue.
corruption.
You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
Seven a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. And speaking of waking everybody up, my goodness, that conversation during the last hour got those phones lit up.
That was fun.
Bill, I don't want to say defending, but it was pretty close to defending Hunter Biden.
Well, here's the thing.
I don't know,
I'm not defending him. I'm just saying that dude got a rich kid job, and the timeline that has been sold for Ukraine and Burisma is mostly a lie. The stuff that James Comer has been out there and saying about it, completely and totally false. And again, not my opinion. It's just based on how time works. I never said that Hunter Biden is 110% qualified and should be put on the board of Burisma. The issue is it doesn't show. Yeah, but the issue is it doesn't show any corruption, because you'd have to show something that they got from that.
And I think that's the key. And that's why they got Menendez.
Yeah.
But
the thing is there's no give. And so that's a problem is Burisma so far, we haven't been shown to benefit in any way, shape, or form based on that relationship. Again, because of the lie being told that Biden shut down investigation. There was no investigation going on at that time. That was part of the corruption.
And Bill,
and then when the guy was removed, the investigation started back up again.
Bill, I will give you this because of what happened on Friday with 2,000 Mules and what's his name?
Oh yeah, Dinesh D'Souza.
Dinesh D'Souza is I'm watching this happen among conservatives. This race out and create these narratives.
Yeah.
And you don't have the evidence to back it all up.
No, and that's a problem.
And if you don't know what we're talking about, Salem put out a statement on 2,000 Mules that was like, we're pulling it down.
Yeah, because of fraud, because stuff that was in there wasn't true.
Right.
And there was a lawsuit that could prove it. And that's a problem. So, yeah. And
you gotta have the facts, guys.
And it's allegations about individuals involved being mules. It is directly to the core
and
of
naming those people,
yeah.
And then it didn't pan out.
Yeah, that they weren't. So, yeah, that's a problem. And this is the same
so
thing. Same thing in Ukraine. This Burisma thing.
If Republicans are going to run out there and say Joe Biden is compromised because Hunter Biden was taking money, or Joe's brother, what's his name? I don't forget his name.
Yeah, I don't know.
But Joe's brother taking funds from government, from foreign governments, you need to show, like with Menendez, this is why Menendez is under trial right now, that actual policy changed as a result of it.
Yeah, something happened. Yeah, something happened as a result. And it can't just be, well, they got money from foreign governments and foreign investors, because unfortunately, the first thing you can do is turn around and put that jacket on Trump and his family, because his kids were getting money from China. His kids were getting money from Saudi Arabia. His kids were getting money from other investments and things like that. So it can't just be you had money coming in from somewhere else. I mean, after Trump left office, it was revealed that he had a bank account that he maintained inside of China. Donald Trump had a bank account in China. Yes. That was revealed after. But again, does it mean corruption? No, not in my mind. That's the idea. But if it was a Hunter Biden or a Joe Biden account in Russia, it would be a big deal. It would be like, oh my gosh, look, that proves the corruption. And that's why is I don't look at it either way, that either one of those proves corruption.
Here's a text message 7280. Wow, Jeff now believes the 81 million votes. No, the point I'm making is that we are going to, as conservatives, are going to face real problems. I mean, look at Fox. Yeah. Now Salem pulling down 2,000 Mules. They're not doing it because it just Friday afternoon decided we were going to take down the movie.
Yeah.
It's because there's actual lawsuits behind this stuff. And if you go out there without stuff that you can prove, you're going to deal with real problems. And you discredit our ability to make serious arguments.
Oh, absolutely. And here's the thing, we've got DJ Summers coming up from Common Sense Institute, and he's going to be doing a lot of bean counting as far as how we're determining where money is spent and how the money grows every year and everything else. And when you dispute things like Biden getting 81 million votes, that basically pulls back and says you don't understand how population growth works, and you don't understand that the reason that Biden got more votes than Obama is because there are more people in America and more registered voters than there was at the time of Obama. Every subsequent president gets more votes than the previous one because of math. I mean, this isn't some sort of conspiracy.
But I do.
Here.
Yeah, we're getting pulled into another side that I want to, because in a second, DJ Summers, who is a bean counter, has gone after the actual cost of Denver migrants to the city. It's not what the mayor has been saying. This is really, really important. But to just put a bow on this, you got to have the facts to back up the claims.
Yeah, you do.
That's really, really important if you believe in truth, if you believe in wanting to have a coherent argument. And in any of these cases, if you're going to go after Hunter Biden, and I understand there's a lot of things that get hidden too. And I think Fauci, we're going to get into this later in the show. A lot of this stuff was hidden, and you've got to fight hard to expose it, but you got to be right. And in this case, Friday, we took down 2,000 mules because the facts were not right. All right, let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Morning, Jeff and Bill. 58 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast is coming up. Our top story, a man is dead after rescuers pulled him from Chatfield Reservoir on Sunday. Multiple agencies responded to the scene and used divers and sonar to locate him. He was removed from the water in critical condition and rushed to a hospital and later pronounced dead. The investigation is underway, but it appears to be a tragic accident. 2 men are in custody after gunshots were fired at Cherry Creek State Park Sunday night. Police say the shots were fired into the air during a music event at the park's swim beach, where several hundred people were attending a show. No injuries reported. Jury selection is expected to start today in Delaware in the federal firearms case against Hunter Biden. Biden is accused of illegally buying and possessing a gun while smoking crack in 2018. It marks the first time in U.S. history a child of a sitting president has gone on trial. He should go on trial for selling his so-called artwork.
That's good.
Thank you. Former President Trump still says success will be his revenge, even though that's difficult after the campaign derailment lawfare trial.
But it's awfully hard when you see what they've done. These people are so evil. And at the same time, the country can come together. I'm saying this, but the country can come together. During my term, prior to COVID, we had the most successful country we've ever had.
Trump on Fox News Channel over the weekend. The great one, Mark Levin, says the case should go before the Supreme Court.
To give us our due process clause back, to give us our equal protection clause back. It's not up to a prosecutor and a judge, a rogue prosecutor and a rogue judge, for that matter, to destroy and nullify the due process clause of the 5th and 14th Amendment or the equal protection clause of the 5th and 14th Amendment. And we have the same Democrat Party that rejected the Constitution, that fought the due process clause, that fought the equal protection clause, the same Democrat Party that after the Civil War still supported segregation, still supported eugenics, still supported and backed Jim Crow.
2 homes are badly damaged and a family is displaced after a Sunday fire in Aurora. Officials say the fire began at a house along East Bethany Place, and the intense heat from the blaze damaged a neighboring home. Firefighters were able to prevent the fire from fully spreading to the other home, and it remains inhabitable. Nobody was injured. The DEA has already seized nearly 2 million pills, and it's getting worse in Colorado. And now that the drug is considered cheaper than ever, it is cheaper than ever. The agent in charge of the Rocky Mountain Field Division warns cartels are using the dark web and social media to sell the pills, which can look like candy or vitamins. And Dave Oleski, who we know well, says that he's never seen anything like this, and once again urges parents to talk to their kids about the dangers of fentanyl. The Rockies lose 4-0 to the Dodgers in Southern California. They're back in town tonight to take on the Reds, 6:30 first pitch. Brandon McManus, Washington Commanders' career is over. The former Broncos kicker was released by Washington on Sunday. The move comes after McManus was accused of sexual assault in a May lawsuit. 54 in Lone Tree, 55 in Brighton, 58 in Denver. Jeff and Bill continue. It is Monday morning as we kick off this new week and new month of June. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Denver will be warm and sunny with the upper 80s likely today. Just a slight chance of an isolated evening thunderstorm, then lows tonight in the upper 50s to near 60. Low to mid-80s, partly cloudy and breezy Tuesday and dry. Dry Wednesday and Thursday, both days near 90. So Tuesday through Thursday dry. Warm Friday, thunderstorms late. Warm for the weekend with late-day thunderstorms returning. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
As we were just saying, facts matter, and that is why I appreciate Common Sense Institute so much. They dive into the details, nonpartisan. They provide the facts to help policymakers make informed decisions in the state of Colorado. They have a new report out, The Ongoing Costs of Denver Migrants. This is from DJ Summers. DJ Summers serves as Director of Policy and Research at the Common Sense Institute. He's got some news for us. DJ, thanks so much for being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Oh, thank you guys for having me.
So let's talk about this report y'all did, The Ongoing Costs of Denver Migrants. What did you discover?
I mean, really, the bottom line is that until you're making money, you're costing money. That's a pretty obvious economic reality that we're just applying to the city level. The resources that are taken up by people who aren't absorbed into the workforce just yet are really starting to stack up. And it's beyond just what happens at the city level. The city has spent $71 million, like the mayor's administration has said, but that doesn't account for what's being spent at the educational level and at the healthcare level. So if you stack all those together, we're talking about a metro-wide expenditure since December 2022 of somewhere between $216 and $340 million.
And that's a pretty big gap, 260 to 340. Why is that, in your estimation, that gap that big?
So the gap is that big because we needed to estimate how many of these children from most recent border surge have been matriculated into Denver area school districts. And there's not really a clean way to do that. So we estimated it two different ways. There's all of the migrant students, that's all of the students who have been born in another country who have entered these schools since December 2022. And the number who have just come from 5 countries, from Venezuela, Colombia, Guatemala, El Salvador, and Honduras. Now, those are a big chunk of the asylum seekers who have come across the southern border since December 2022. So the truth is somewhere in between those two numbers. It's between probably 7,000 and just under 16,000 students total.
So the sense we're getting from this is that the migrants coming into the city of Denver is a pretty significant cost. I mean, is this a crisis from your perspective on the system itself, on our healthcare, on our education, on city costs?
Yeah, that's an interesting question. A crisis may be not quite the right word for some portions of the city and its institutions, but an appropriate one for others. For healthcare, it is a crisis. We know that, for example, Denver Health, they have a limited amount of money that they get from the city of Denver every year. They only get $30 million from the city. That has not changed over the past decade. So as their uncompensated care costs go up, they're not going to get more money from the city. They haven't been getting more money from the city. And their uncompensated healthcare costs have already been going up because of the expanding homelessness problem in the Denver metro area. As the city's designated uncompensated care provider, they're seeing a lot of strain on that system. Denver Health is, and other hospital systems in the Denver metro area are seeing an equivalent strain. We know that that's happening in UC Health. We know that other members of the Colorado Hospital Association are seeing some of the same influx of uncompensated emergency room treatment. So we know that that is a strain on hospitals. They've got to recoup their money from somewhere. In the case of Denver Health, they need to get that from the city, and they're not getting additional funding from the city. Now, with education, that's an additional cost. Those students, they have costs per student for instruction and support. In the Denver metro area, it's about $14,100 to educate a single student. Now, they've also undergone a population decline, though, over the last 5 years. Since COVID, population has been going down. Student rolls have been going down in a lot of Denver metro districts. and student rolls dictate how much money they get at the district level. So it could be argued that it's a good thing for Denver public schools because they're finally getting more students. And that's how they get more money into the district, is to get more students in the first place. But definitely at the city level, it's chomping down on a previously agreed upon budget. It's siphoning funds away from public safety departments, fire department, Denver Police Department, the Sheriff's Department. It's siphoning money away from those areas towards migrant response, and it's definitely straining the healthcare system.
Well, I mean, it's a priority issue. We're talking with DJ Summers, Director of Policy and Research at Common Sense Institute. The mayor has said illegal immigrants are going to be a priority. So if we have to cut other areas, we're going to cut other areas. What has his response been to this report?
We actually have not heard from the city on this report. You know, we have good relationships with the mayor's office. One of the people who works in his office is actually going to be on a panel that we're hosting tomorrow morning at our Eggs in the Economy events, and we've had very good relationships with them. We're up front with all of our information. They give us all of the info that we need to make our calculations. But I can't really speak to what the response has been. We calculate their numbers pretty accurately. If anything, I think they probably are happy to see that it's calibrated somewhere, that someone is looking at not just what is spent from Denver city agencies, but what the total costs are to organizations and administrations that aren't directly under the city umbrella, like Denver Health, like the healthcare system, like education districts.
Talking with DJ Summers, Director of Policy and Research at the Common Sense Institute. New report out that they put out just a few days ago, the ongoing costs of Denver migrants. You can view the report at commonsenseinstituteco.org, commonsenseinstituteco.org. Now, on the policy side, the mayor's blamed the federal government. They're not providing enough money. Therefore, we're having to make these cuts. I'm trying to figure out kind of the solution forward, right? The city, you find that the city education healthcare costs for migrants since December 2022 total an estimated of $216 million to $340 million. All right. So the city of Denver is spending on illegal immigrants somewhere between $216 million and $340 million. Now, I'm guessing we just don't have the ability to print money. So that money is coming from somewhere. And they have some reserves. They've budgeted in some capacity to this, but in other ways, they're cutting for it. They want more money from illegal immigrants. I mean, Bill, feel free to respond to this. I mean, that's such an astronomical amount of money that we're spending on illegal immigration. I'm almost at a loss of words on what our city is doing. It seems like we're just willing to spend this amazing amount of money for this priority. Is it benefiting us to do this? I don't know. DJ, do you have thoughts on that?
Really, what this, I started off this conversation by saying, look, if you don't make money, you cost money. And the city's response is trying now to prioritize getting this population to make money. They've got rapid work authorizations that are going on right now. I think they've authorized something like 1,800 of this population to get into the system. And that's really what needs to happen in order for that cost not to be a total loss. In order for it to be a net positive, you've got to get people into the economic system. You have to get them working. You have to get them spending money. You have to get them paying taxes. There's some disagreement according to different sources about what kind of net positive economic impact unauthorized immigrants have in the country. And it's a very interesting kind of smorgasbord of options where generally, and this comes from the Congressional Budget Office, from the National Academy of Sciences, there is a net positive impact to the national economy when they enter the working system. But that presupposes that they are working. That presupposes that they do have a job, that they are paying taxes on some level, if it's sales taxes, property taxes, if it's just employment taxes that go towards Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security, all of those things. But again, that presupposes that they are working. So the city's response now is trying to put a high priority on getting rapid work authorizations up. They're trying to get people into the economic system, trying to get them to that net positive status. And in the meantime, all of these costs that we're talking about at the city level for migrant response, at the educational level for school rooms, at the healthcare level in emergency rooms, in uncompensated care, all of those costs are going to be a net negative until that population begins to pay back through labor what they have been accumulating in taxpayer-funded costs.
DJ Summers with Common Sense Institute joining us, talking about a new study that has revealed the real cost of illegal immigration here in Denver. And as you just heard him outline here on the Jeff and Bill Show, the government has just discovered that when someone is gainfully employed, it helps the economy. And when you're just taking stuff from services, you're a drain. Wow. News at 10. I think Blake Olson will cover that in the news. It's amazing. They finally understood that one. Now, and you did mention the Egg in the Economy, a special event going on tomorrow morning. Can you tell the listener how they can join you tomorrow to find out more about this? And then I've got another question after that. But I want to give you some time to talk about the Egg in the Economy tomorrow.
Absolutely. Eggs in the Economy is one of our ongoing events. We do them every other month. This is where we collect a panel of some of the top minds, the top speakers, the top policymakers in any given area, and have them on for a panel, talk about some of our recent work. This is attended by policymakers, by business leaders, by other titans of industry and commerce in Colorado. And you can join that by live stream, I believe, if you visit our website. And you can also just buy yourself a ticket, come on down. It is early in the morning, which is why we serve eggs and talk about the economy. Clever little play on words that we've got there. And just come on down and join a seat is honestly the best way to get that going. But tomorrow we're going to be talking about these two issues, migrants and homelessness. Now, those are the number one and the number two respective issues on all of Colorado voters' minds at the moment. We have a great panel. Adam Paul, who's heading up the migrant response from the city of Denver's office, Heidi Williams, who is the head of the Metro Mayor's organization in the Denver metro area, and Paul Scudo, who is the leader at STEP Denver, which is a substance abuse, substance addiction treatment facility. They're all going to have wonderful things to say about both of these issues. I can't wait. I'm going to be the moderator on this panel. It's going to be a great event.
Oh, that's fantastic. And Paul is a friend of the show, so you'll have to tell him hello from Jeff and Bill tomorrow morning.
Can do.
And there are going to be a couple of listeners. We know Joan from Lakewood and a couple of other texters saying they are going to be joining you as well. So it's nice to see the listeners supporting your event. Now, what I want to talk to you about, DJ Summers, just a moment ago, we talked about how the federal government had just discovered that it's better when people are working somehow. It's amazing. They finally have figured that out. What in your research did you find as some of the biggest roadblocks that are there to getting these illegal migrants working? What are the challenges they're having, and why can't they get them into the workforce so quickly?
Look, some of the challenges are just legal. They're, different legal status of incoming people is always going to be the biggest issue. You need a particular work visa in order to work in the United States. If you're visiting, if you're an asylum seeker, it's going to look a little bit different. All of those things need to be ironed out at the federal level. So we're devoting at the city level a lot of the city's resources to trying to rapidly respond to all of this different legal status that these migrants have. Now, that's the big obvious issue. The second issue is just education. You need certain education to get certain kinds of employment. You need facility with the language. You need facility with the culture, and you need transportation to get to your place of work. All of those issues are the big barriers to getting anyone to work, but specifically and most problematically with this population. So it's going to need to be, and it is at the city level, of a very coordinated response, a very coordinated effort to churn through all of the legal red tape and also to assess people's education backgrounds and their skill sets so that we can put them in touch with the right kind of jobs. I don't work for the city, so I can't see exactly the particulars for how that gets done. But those are the two big hurdles, is just education and skills that match up to what jobs are available here, overcoming the language and culture barriers, and just cutting through that federal legal tape.
DJ Summers, have you done research into whether or not these jobs are being taken away from American citizens?
Have not done that research just yet. Now, I can say that the numbers would lead me to believe that may not be a huge problem here in Colorado. In Colorado, we have 2 available jobs for every 1 unemployed person. So there may be enough jobs to go around. Now, whether or not this population will be able to fill those jobs is another question, because again, we're talking about skills gaps, we're talking about education differences, we're talking about language barriers. So I'm not sure how many of those jobs they're going to be able to fill. We may be able to drill down into that the more information we get as time goes on. But that on its face is a pretty good sign for Colorado, at least a positive to neutral sign that we already have a lot of jobs to go around in the state. So we may be in a good situation where keeping jobs is able to happen.
DJ Summers, Director of Policy and Research at the Common Sense Institute, joining Jeff and Bill, outlining a brand new research study they've done that exposes the real cost of illegal immigration here in Denver and throughout the state of Colorado. I want to ask you, DJ, about those hidden costs, because we get a lot of numbers that come out of the mayor's office, and those are big numbers. But you're talking upends of $300 million is the actual real cost. Can you tell us what was the largest hidden cost that you found? Something that Jeff, myself, and the voters don't necessarily see, but ends up taking a lot of our taxpayer money in order to help out these migrants.
Hands down, the biggest cost is education. Like I said, every student in the Denver metro it takes about $14,100 in instruction and support for one single student at a Denver metro school district per academic year. And that is perhaps even an undercount, that $98 to $222 million that we derive there. That may be an undercount as well, because this is a specialized population. We're not talking about the language support that they need. We're not talking about some of the extra transportation dollars that they might need, some of the additional social resources that they might need, acculturation programs that they might need. We're talking based on just $14,100 per student on average. This is a high need population. There are probably a lot of baked in costs that we're not able to consider because we just don't have all of the details, but they're probably being spent at a district level in the districts that have absorbed lots of these students. Denver, in Aurora, those are going to have a lot of additional costs that aren't factored because we based that figure just on an average instruction and support figure.
Now, I would 110% agree with you, because I know family members and friends in education, and you're absolutely right that the pure cost of the student as a migrant, either illegal or legal, is far beyond that, because many times when they come here, even if they're legal migrants, there are some issues with English as a second language, as you talk about. There are some issues in catching them up, or at least getting them up to grade level in certain areas that has to be baked into it. And some of these kids come in with counseling issues. Some of them are leaving very, very bad situations, either as refugees leaving from home, or just the idea of coming with mom and dad and trying to get into the country illegally. There's a lot of things that happened there. And many of these kids end up seeing a lot of counselors. And that is that's a hidden cost as well, because they can also then be disciplinary problems. Now, I'm not saying they all are, but it is not unusual, since we have a large population of migrants, that just like with a large population of regular Denver kids, that some of them are going to have some issues and act out, and that the disciplinary problems are huge as well. And discipline becomes an incredible problem when you're also dealing with a language and an educational issue. It begins to compound, and the kids get real expensive real quickly.
Oh my gosh, guys, I'm like, why am I having to pay for all this stuff? I'm sitting here listening to this, and I'm like, they came here illegally. No one forced them to come to our country. Now I've got to pay for the healthcare costs. I got to pay for the counseling costs. I got to pay for all this stuff. And they provide some maybe benefit to our economy. And then I'm going to have to pay to send them home. DJ, are you guys going to look into because this is going to be a big one. If Trump wins and we have to deport people, what the cost is going to be for that? Are you guys going to dive into those numbers?
Oh, that's a very strong possibility. I can't imagine that we wouldn't at least touch on it to some degree. Again, this is an ongoing situation. We're still ironing out the hard costs of what it costs just in these three buckets, just in city, education, and healthcare, to really get all of that nailed down, just what's being funded in taxpayer services and in all of what we've been talking about. We have not even weighed that against what the Congressional Budget Office's projections for net lifetime positive impacts are for unauthorized immigrants. And then tack onto that what's going to be the projected cost for deportations. There's a lot of projections that you could base on all of this as time goes on. We're now arriving just at some hard costs for three big expenditure areas. And we're going to need to do a lot of very heavy work in order to get to some of those numbers. So it's a strong possibility. I cannot rule it out.
DJ Summers, Director of Policy and Research, Common Sense Institute. The report is at commonsenseinstituteco.org. That's commonsenseinstituteco.org. DJ, we're getting people asking how they can follow you on social media.
Follow me on social media?
Yeah, they're interested.
What a great question. Do I even know my Twitter handle right off the top of the book? Let me see here.
Well, he's looking at that. Here's a question I have for you. Do you guys get into policy recommendations? So is there anything that comes out of these reports that you hope the city of Denver will change? Or are you just doing data analysis and it's up to the lawmakers to interpret it?
I am at DJ Summers 13. At DJ Summers 13 on social media. That's probably the best way to follow me there. I'll try to be a little bit more active the more people do end up following us, or you can just follow the Common Sense Institute on Twitter. We are very active. We've got a fabulous director of communications. So to the policy question, really the implied policy directive or implied policy recommendation that we're making out of this, we do say something about this, even if it's not like a very ironclad policy recommendation, is that work authorization is the best way to make this a net economic positive. We deal with economic realities more than we deal with legal ones or philosophical ones. So most of our policy recommendations are just going to talk about the economic brass tacks. And that is the biggest economic brass tack out of this, that the faster you can get any of this population into the legal working economy where they are taxed, where they are participating in the consumer economy, the better off we're going to be economically speaking. Now, most of our reports run the gamut. Sometimes we've got some policy recommendations that are pretty ironclad with condo defect litigation. That's going to help us out with some of our housing density issues around here. But some of them will not really have hard policy recommendations. Sometimes we are just pointing out the realities. Sometimes we're doing the analysis and letting people run with whatever our findings happen to be.
DJ Summers with the Common Sense Institute, live with Jeff and Bill, talking about a new report they've released that reveals the real cost of illegal immigration here in Denver. Now, I got a question for you. This is based on a text message. Do you have any numbers on how long it takes the migrants, legal and illegal, to gain work visas and get into the working system, starting to get that gainful employment? Do you know how long it's taking on average? And do you know the percentage of conversion from illegal not working to maybe still illegal. At least I've got some sort of a visa and now I'm working. Do you have any numbers on that?
So we've got some limited available information on that. The city has authorized about 1,800 unauthorized migrants or authorized migrants, however you have to define them legally. Of this group, they've authorized about 1,800 for work in the U.S. That's what we know. And that boils down to, I guess, roughly 1 in 20, 1 in 25, something around there. Of the 42,000 that have come through Denver, it's a little less than 1 in 10, something like 1 in 12 of the number who have stayed. Now, that's how many have been authorized. That's how many have completed that city-led working group to get them authorized. We don't know how many have secured gainful employment and how many have secured full-time gainful employment. Those numbers we don't know just yet. And that's going to be an excellent question for us to address at tomorrow's panel with Adam Paul from the city of Denver. We're still trying to get a better view of how many are actually doing what those authorizations are intended to do, which is get people to be productive economic contributors.
DJ Summers, Director of Policy and Research at Common Sense Institute. The report at commonsenseinstituteco.org. Again, the report, The Ongoing Costs of Denver Migrants. Read it in depth at commonsenseinstituteco.org. DJ, thanks so much. We're just out of time. Really appreciate you being on the Jeff and Bill Show.
Hey, I had a great time, guys. Have me anytime. This was awesome.
Oh,
DJ Summers, I would love to hear your feedback on this report. Give us a call, 303-696-1971, 303-696-1971, or text us on the 710 KNUS app. Man, that fires me up.
Yeah.
When I'm like, this is the amount of money we're having to pay. 1 in 12?
That's a problem for me, the 1 in 12.
Get
Yeah.
workforce authorization, and we don't even know how many are actually employed. I'm glad he's going to ask tomorrow that question of Adam Paul.
That 1 in 12 numbers,
12.
that bothers me a lot. That needs to be the minimum 50%.
No,
minimum.
go home.
That is, I mean, minimum 50%.
Send them home.
Well, here's the thing, though. But here's the thing is you're operating off of the conclusion that all of them are illegal, because as soon as they show up at the consulate, or as soon as they show up at the entry point,
they can do that in their own country.
And say, but they still, that's not the process, though. And they can claim asylum. And that's the issue. And so we've got to figure out the asylum claims. We've got to get through that a heck of a lot quicker in order to solve some of this mystery about should these people be here or not. And again, but 1 in 12, regardless of whether or not they're illegal or asylum, that's crap.
And
that is crap.
The listener, are paying hundreds of millions of dollars for this. My goodness.
In many ways, that shows government efficiency. That is a government efficient program. 1 in 12. They're happy with those results. Where if you and I were running a business, that would be failure. We would be closing the doors. But for the government, it's a win.
This is a little throwback here, Bill. 7280. Does Billy have a thing for Hunter? Yeah, he's handsome and a member of the elite, but he's way out of your league, Billy.
Oh yeah, there's no way. I mean, again, if that was my proclivity, I couldn't pull someone like Hunter. There's no way.
I disagree with that. Billy is way out of Hunter's league. He was pulling some.
That was
just fishing at the bottom of the barrel. If you ever looked at his laptop.
Yeah, when I was young, though, that's not now. Now, if I had to date Hunter, it'd be a charity date. It's that bad. He is out of my league right now, but that's okay. Not that I would, but still, yeah, he's out of my league. I appreciate the text.
Jeff, please get the facts straight. You're not paying anything. You live in the prairie, not Denver. 5551, $24 million went from the state budget to deal with these education issues in these schools.
School districts.
So this is not just the city of Denver, but look, we all want a kinder, gentler way to experience wellness and overcome pain. I'm thriving and fighting back my workout soreness with UltraCur. UltraCur is a patented non-prescription natural capsule that works fast. Look, there's plenty of other curcumin products out there that are going to make you pay to try it. Not UltraCur. You can experience UltraCur for free. Go to any Denver Metro natural grocers and ask for the health coach or the Vitamin Manager for your free 3-day trial of UltraCur. UltraCur is fueled by patented technology, gives you the true edge, supports your peak wellness, energy, and active lifestyle. Guys, as you get older, this type of stuff helps. If you've tried everything, even other natural curcumin products, you owe it to yourself to at least try UltraCur today. Get curious, Denver. Head to the natural grocers. Grab your free 3-day UltraCur trial. No strings attached. If you're wondering about the research, get the lowdown at getultranow.com. That's getultranow.com. Again, the ongoing costs of Denver migrants costing the city of Denver an estimated $216 million to $340 million. How do you feel about that? Give us a call, 303-696-1971. Joan, I hear Hunter's fond of snakes. All right, we'll be right back. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. That's a good one.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Hunter Biden's trial on gun charges kicks off today in Delaware. It's the first of 2 criminal trials Joe Biden's son faces this election year. Ira Spitzer reports.
Jury selection is beginning at a court in Wilmington, Delaware for Hunter Biden's trial on 3 felony charges related to the purchase and possession of a firearm obtained by the president's son in 2018. Prosecutors say he did so despite knowing that he used illegal drugs at the time. The trial comes after a plea deal collapsed last summer that would have settled this case and a separate tax evasion case for which Hunter Biden faces a trial in California in September. Republicans have sought to keep the president's son's legal problems in the spotlight ahead of November's election.
North Korea has said it will stop sending balloons full of garbage into South Korea after having sent 3,500 balloons carrying 15 tons of waste into the country. Pyongyang said it will not hesitate to resume the practice if South Korea continues to drop anti-North Korea leaflets into its territory. Seoul said it would take unendurable measures against its northern neighbor if the garbage flights didn't stop, including blaring propaganda through loudspeakers aimed at the north, a practice not used since 2018. And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
710 KNUS. Welcome back, Jeff and Bill Show. And we are going to go directly to the phone calls. We went a little long with DJ Summers, Common Sense Institute. Immediately going to Spencer. Good morning, Spencer. Thanks for giving us a call. Jeff and Bill Show, what would you like to say?
Good morning, guys. Hey, do you think that the 1 in 12 has any correlation to Colorado being listed as the second most dangerous state to live in, mainly due to the property crime numbers? I mean, you've got 11 people out of 12 who aren't receiving an income in one of the most expensive states in the nation. How are they surviving? Where are they getting their money?
Well, Spencer, to that point, the mayor has provided them ATM cards, debit cards with money on it. But look, this goes into the quality of the person that's coming across the border, right? So the United States, if you're going to immigrate into the United States has a vested interest to make sure that talented people, intellectual people, hardworking people are immigrating to this country. And so we created a process, right? But that process takes like a decade for them to come to this country. Meanwhile, under our current administration's just total abandonment of the border, you can just walk right across. So if you're a talented person, let's say you're a talented person in India, right? You want to come to this nation. You're likely going to take the time. You're going to want to follow the rules because you've been following the rules your entire life. You went to school. You're going to fill out the right forms. You're going to follow the steps so that your family can come to this country legally. The people that are like, I'm just heading north, and I understand it's a hell of a journey. I understand it's very difficult. But that's a different type of person. And now they've come to this country, and 1 in 12, according to Common Sense Institute's analysis in the city of Denver, is actually working.
On a side note, one of the largest influxes of asylum seekers and illegal crossings at the border right now is India. Huge influx of people from India. So
and China too.
Yeah, they're doing it as well now. Now, Spencer, I want to ask you for a second here, because I didn't put this together as far as the crime and the idea that we're only converting 1 or 12. Think about it this way, Spencer. You and I, we come into this country. We're brand new, and we are getting some free services. We get an ATM card. We're getting some counseling. We're getting a free house,
which you didn't get in Venezuela.
Yep, exactly. I just, based on, now you could be a fine, wonderful, upstanding person, but what does it tell you about laws, rules, and even personal property in America? What I'm getting at is when you come to the country and the country hands you things for free, I submit it's a little easier to think I can go out and do the crime because I'm already getting the free stuff. And the issue I've got is when we're not involving them in some of the pay as you go. I'm not saying that we need to take their entire paycheck and have them pay rent, but having them pay a small portion while they're in the services and the work, getting them a menial job right out of the gate seems to be something where you're now contributing to the community. I think you're right. When all you're doing is receiving things and not contributing to the community, you've got more of an incentive to take whatever you can from that community.
Right. Well, one last point for you. I know you got a lot of calls, so I'll let you guys go after this. I was on Santa Fe headed towards Denver, going to pick up materials for a project. And there's a huge group of migrants running around washing windows on cars as you're stuck in traffic.
Yep.
Now, I'm sitting there and I look over and there's a brand new truck with temp tags on, and they would all come over to this truck, and there was a single person that was running these folks out in the streets washing windows. So yeah, they're making money. They're not paying taxes.
Yep.
I promise you,
Spencer,
that is what is occurring.
That is exactly right.
Yeah. And if they're willing to do the window thing, Spencer, thanks for the call. Hope you have a good day. Okay, why don't we just, it's several places around town, you set up the migrant car wash. Okay, wash my car. I'll show up there, $10, $20, and I'm doing it, and you guys are just washing the car and vacuuming. Fine. And make it a full service gas station. Fine. I just want something. I just want them to work.
They don't belong here in the first place. It's like you guys are like trying to figure it all out, and just this and this and this. Go home.
I love that position.
I appreciate your heart. It's It's your Catholic coming out.
Yeah, it is. It is.
All right. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. I'm going to have to go do some Hail Marys.
Fascinating conversation with DJ Summers, Common Sense Institute, the ongoing cost of the migrants in the Denver metro region reaching now $216 million to $340 million. Here's a good question. What do you do with the window washers? When they come up to your car, what do you do with them?
I tell them, go away.
Or I don't drive downtown, so I don't deal with it.
I also don't make eye contact because eye contact is permission. And so that's normally what I do. Yeah, I avoid eye contact.
I feel almost,
which is hard for me.
With the beggars, I feel like it's the exact opposite because I'm like, who are you? What are you doing? Where are you from? How'd you end up in this spot? Do you give them money when they ask and you pull up to the car? Do you do that? Douglas County has puts up all these signs that say don't, because it actually harms them. It's an addiction issue, not a homeless issue. There's plenty of services out there, and you're only giving them money to buy alcohol or drugs. So don't give them money. What do you do? Bill, you had an interesting story.
Yeah,
on
I've got a
that,
story.
but-
We'll talk about it. There's something my
Yeah.
dad taught me. He didn't say, don't do this. He said, do this, watch, and learn.
I want to get into that. All right, you're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS. I guess
8 a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You tuned in to the Jeff and Bill Show. 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe.
I feel like I should be doing some music in the background. Because it's just cold. I don't know. It's Monday. Hopefully your Monday is going better than ours. We appreciate you being here.
We're bringing you the freshest insights, hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. A beautiful day in the greatest country in history. And we're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, and most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab another cup of coffee, Denver. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. During the last hour, we spoke with DJ Summers about the ongoing costs of migrants in the Denver metro region. It ain't $90 million. Sorry, what Mikey Johnston is telling you ain't true. It's $216 million to $340 million to cost the Denver metro region dealing with this illegal immigrant crisis. Getting a lot of calls and text messages. We do have an open line. Towards the end of the hour, we got to that discussion. What do you do with the window washers? When they come up to your car and they're sitting there, and I don't even know how this scam works, right? They're supposedly they just go ahead and wash the window, and if you don't pay them, what do they do? Do they yell at you?
I think they spit on you.
Is that what happens?
No, I have no idea. The thing is, it's a psychological trick is
Yeah.
what they're doing. It's now you're still you are such a sweet summer child because you're younger than I am, so I'm just gonna say that. You may not remember the Hare Krishnas in the airports.
Yeah.
And the reason the Krishnas,
I kind of miss them.
I know that is kind of weird. They'd always be there. The reason they would hand you
what
the
reminds
flower
me-
was because it's a gift, and they want to reciprocate. And so the idea is, I'm going to give you this, and then you're looking for something back. In fact, there's this thing, and okay, I'm going to pull the curtain back on a little bit of radio knowledge here. There's this thing that advertisers do where they'll ask you, how did you hear about us, when you call their business? And that sucks because it's not accurate in any way, shape, or form, because the consumer is looking for help or service or a good from the place they're calling. And now that business is asking them for something. So they will volunteer information, even if it's not true, because they want to strengthen the relationship. It's psychological. So yeah, those things don't work at all. But that's why the Krishnas hand you the flower, and that's why they clean the window and then ask you for the money afterwards. They don't come up and go, clean it.
To the Hare Krishnas?
I have no idea. I mean, those and the Gideons,
around?
the people that put all the Bibles and the things. I don't know what the Gideons are either. I've never seen a Gideon church. I have no idea.
Yeah, I know the Gideons.
I've never seen a Gideon church, but their Bibles are everywhere. I mean, they're
it's an organization.
They're like the Easter Bunny
they don't
religion.
have their own churches. You can be a Gideon and attend the Baptist church, the Presbyterian church.
So it's like an Easter Bunny religion. It's just hidden.
It's like a secondary ministry. So you have your church, but then it's an additional thing.
The ministry is books.
It's books. Yeah, that's right.
All right.
Put them in.
I have no idea.
But I feel like the Hare Krishnas have gone away.
Yeah, I know.
I wonder what happened to them.
They dress well. The bright orange tangerine stuff. And, you could see them. It's nice. It was summery.
That reminds me of the airplane movies.
That's exactly it. Still, one of the best out there. One of the absolute best.
We need some folks to make fun of airline travel again.
Yes, we do.
It's been too long.
It has been.
Let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Hare Krishna, Hare. Who was that? Who was that?
Yeah.
Was that Dan? No, not Dan Aykroyd. Or Dan Aykroyd. It was Chevy Chase, I think, wasn't it?
Yeah, I think it was. It was Chevy. I think so. I think you're right.
Man, I love that. Very, very summary. They look very summary. Very nice, Billy. I appreciate that. 63 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s today. The 710 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story: Hunter Biden's criminal gun trial is set to get underway in Delaware. It marks the first time the child of a sitting U.S. president has gone on trial, and maybe the first time a crack addict and failed artist has carte blanche in D.C. No, wait a minute. It's D.C. Dr. Anthony
Barry.
Right. Marion Barry was the first one I thought about. Dr. Anthony Fauci heads to Capitol Hill today. His first time testifying in public since leaving government. House Republicans have requested access to Fauci's private emails and cell phone records as they seek information related to the Wuhan Institute of Virology and the origins of COVID.
He's toast.
Yeah,
he's toast. I've been reading this. They haven't been able to tie directly COVID to the Wuhan virus lab yet, but man, I think Rand Paul. We're going to get into this later in the hour, but Democrats are starting to change their tune on him.
Yeah, that's amazing.
He's the venerated saint of the left too.
Yes, he's like God to a lot of them, no doubt. Former President Trump was meerschamed last week in New York and still says success will be his revenge.
These people are sick, and they do things that are so destructive. I mean, look what they did from the day I got there. And I don't know, a lot of people said we have no choice but to elect Trump. Republicans, because he's the only one that can withstand this. Don't forget, if it weren't me, they'd be going after somebody else. And I know a lot of the competition, they wouldn't do so well. They wouldn't be doing so well right now. They'd be saying, "Mommy, take me home. I want to go home." This is brutal.
Trump on Fox News Channel over the weekend, and President Biden says there will be executive action dealing with the southern border before tomorrow. What? No way. Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson.
It's too little, too late. Now he's trying to desperately show the American people somehow that he wants to address the issue that he himself created. Now he wants to issue some sort of executive order, I guess, to show that, oh, no, he really does care about the issue. The only reason he's doing that is because the polls say that it's the biggest issue in America.
Who don't know a word of Spanish? Si habla español. Adios, amigo. Buenas noches, muchacho. I know all that stuff. And I know some cuss words, too. You want to hear some?
DJ Summers from the Common Sense Institute on with Jeff and Billy last hour. He says illegal immigrants in the city of Denver are actually costing us more than we think.
The city has spent $71 million, like the mayor's administration has said, but that doesn't account for what's being spent at the educational level and at the healthcare level. So if you stack all those together, we're talking about a metro-wide expenditure since December 2022 of somewhere between $216 and $340 million.
Wow. It's putting a strain on every aspect of our city, county, and state. A man is dead after rescuers pulled him from Chatfield Reservoir late Sunday. Multiple agencies responded to the scene and used divers and sonar to locate him. He was removed from the water in critical condition and rushed to a hospital and later pronounced dead. Investigation is underway, but it appears to be a tragic accident. 2 men are in custody after gunshots were fired at Cherry Creek State Park Sunday night. Police say the shots were fired into the air during a music event at the park's swim beach, where several hundred people were attending a show. No injuries reported.
Sounds like Yosemite Sam was at the music festival.
or they couldn't find the firing range or something. Yeah, Yosemite Sam was there. Back off. Rockies lose 4-0 to the Dodgers. Reds in town today at Coors, 6:30 first pitch. Brandon McManus, Washington Commanders' career is over. The former Broncos kicker was released on Sunday by Washington. The move comes after McManus was accused of sexual assault in a May lawsuit. 57 in Castle Pines, 59 in Lafayette, and 63 in Denver. Jeff and Bill, the Hare Krishnas, continue on Monday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Denver will be warm and sunny with the upper 80s likely today. Just a slight chance of an isolated evening thunderstorm, then lows tonight in the upper 50s to near 60. Low to mid 80s, partly cloudy and breezy Tuesday and dry. Dry Wednesday and Thursday, both days near 90. So Tuesday through Thursday dry. Warm Friday, thunderstorms late. Warm for the weekend with late day thunderstorms returning. I'm meteorologist Don Day in the 710 KNUS Weather Center.
So the Washington Post, Bill, with regards to Hare Krishnas, did an article after, this was about 7 years ago. After 50 years, Hare Krishnas are no longer white hippies who proselytize in airports.
Oh, I'm sort of disappointed. A little sad. I'm also I was talking to Blake Olson off the air. I had to do a shout out to him because middle of the newscast there, dropping some Sanford and Son. Oh, old school Red Fox. Criminally underrated sitcom.
That was before my time.
You could not pull off today. No, you couldn't pull it off today. You couldn't. not when the main male character is always referring to his younger son as dummy all the time. And that was a form of a compliment. But again, you couldn't do it today. It was so good. So good.
Text messages coming in on the conversation. Feel free to text us on the 710 KNUS text line. Tony from Denver. Until Republicans get serious about legislating asylum process reform, I don't want to hear a single complaint from conservatives. The simple fact is that a lot of those recent arrivals exploited loopholes in the existing law that guarantees due process of asylum claims. Republicans just refused a bipartisan bill that would greatly increase funding for more judges, lawyers, etc. The sick part is that they did so to even more firmly contact their... Okay, can't read that part. Then he also says, I call BS on the window washing things. The cops came down hard on that months ago, and I haven't seen anything in a long time. Is that true? Is it still an issue? I just don't go downtown.
I know that we got a caller online, and he runs into him quite often. I run into him often. I don't go downtown as much, but in some of the places I travel throughout Denver, I do run into them. I find them more in my travels on the north side of downtown. Again, I'm not saying that's where they are. I'm just saying that is where I have been traveling and run into them most often. And normally it is on the overpasses or underpasses when you're turning to get onto or off of highways or thoroughfares.
Right.
And it makes sense because of the underpass, because then you're shaded rather than hanging out outside, in the sun all day. Yeah.
Let's go to the phone lines. Jay, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Jay.
Hey, good morning. Good show. Hey, who said that the cops cut down on the migrants?
Tony from Denver said that they're not doing the window washing stuff anymore.
So Santa Fe North, I-25, where that big ramp is, the flyover ramp that actually doesn't work, was supposed to fix the traffic. It didn't. Southbound, you're going north on Santa Fe and I-25, and there's a big intersection where Alameda, if you stay off the highway, and there's a lot of construction. So literally, I hung up with you guys at about 9:15 Friday morning, and there was 27. My partner and I, we had to go downtown for work on this corner, and they're taking advantage of this traffic jam, making it worse. They're walking up and down and cleaning windshields. I didn't see anybody give them any money. They were just cleaning windshields.
27.
So there was beautiful pickup truck. Your previous caller, beautiful pickup truck they ride in the back of to get there, and they're cleaning windshields. That's all cool. The good part, one good part, the homeless guys that are always there on that corner were not there, taking money for free.
What?
So
one or the other. You're going to be stuck with one or the other. What happens if you don't pay them? Do they get angry?
I don't know. I just wave them off. But one other thing you were talking about earlier, and I think this is so important that people understand, two personal things that I deal with. Okay, first and foremost, when we build buildings or custom homes, everybody out there on the job's illegal. They all have new pickup trucks. They all have new everything. And I see them out for dinner on Friday night, and they're spending $200 on dinner because they're not paying taxes. They're not paying a lot of things that we're dealing with from a load standpoint from Americans. So that's one issue. The other issue, I think, that's more important than any, community colleges, which we do technology in. Our Colorado tax dollars for community colleges pay for illegals that do not speak English, for interpreters to sit there and take notes for them in class when they're not there. When they're not there. And I hope other people will call in with this information. I saw it with my eyes. We're doing all these cameras and all this data systems in schools and in community colleges. If you are illegal and you do not speak the language, you are granted an interpreter. And if you did not show up for class, which I had to show up for class many times, I did not like it, and somebody else take notes and sends them to you, and you and I are paying, three of us. No kidding.
Wow.
Yeah, that thing about not being class is crap. That's ridiculous.
They don't even show up for class. And wouldn't you, if you don't understand what's going on, and I'm not talking about the public schools, which I think is pretty much a disaster there.
Yeah.
But if you don't show up for class for community college, and I'm for community college, don't get me wrong. Come on, man. Somebody's going to sit there, go to your class for you, give you notes, and then you pass a class that you could not pass because you don't speak the language.
So one of the statistics that came out of this report from the Common Sense Institute, the ongoing costs of Denver migrants, is that they think that only 1 in 12 people that have come in illegal into the city of Denver are actually work or have gotten through the workforce process. And they don't even know out of that many, how many are actually working. And the question was, why do you think so many people are not going through the workforce process when they come to the city illegally? Well, your data is just another indicator that they're taking advantage of the system.
Well, and they're going to school for free, first of all.
Yeah.
They're not paying. Second, in New York yesterday, 2 fine officers were shot by illegal alien. Biden should be indicted for this one issue, and every person that's shot and killed, including that young lady that was killed, that was a nursing student. So just yesterday, 2 policemen were shot by an illegal alien from Venezuela. They went to the hospital. I think both of them are going to survive. I hope to God. And this son of a gun came in illegally. He's 19 years old. They chased him in New York City up one of those parkways, which I've been on, in a moped going backwards, and they got him. I hope they shot him and killed him, but I don't know if they did. And this guy shot two of the finest in New York, and he's illegal. And Joe Biden and Mayorkas let them in the country. It's as simple as that.
Jay, I got a question
Yesterday.
for you. You have two legal cases going on right now. You have Donald Trump. Actually, you have four with him. You have this lawfare that's taking place there. Hunter Biden jury selection starts today. And we talked about this in a previous hour, but I believe that at the end of the day, people are going to focus on the issues you just talked about, right? Illegal immigrant. Are we going to get into Hunter Biden federal gun forms, and is that going to make and change somebody's vote? Is Donald Trump and business records and being convicted in that sham trial going to change anyone's vote? Or the fact that illegal immigration is costing the city of Denver $200 to $340 million. Cops being shot in New York City by illegal immigrants. I think at the end of the day, when it comes down to it in November, it's going to be about issues and not about these cases. What do you think?
I think it's where the rubber meets the road. For me, I'm a legal firearms instructor for military. Let me tell you, Hunter had that gun for 9 days. He bought it from an FFL guy, a shop. He had it in his video on the laptop. Look at the photos. Right. He's hanging there with a cigarette in his mouth. The gun is a star. The whole of this guy that's prosecuting him said he's going to use the laptop data, which I love. He's sitting there snorting cocaine with a gun in his hand and a cigarette in his mouth, naked. Well, what's the deal with Joe and his kids? I mean, I don't get it. And it's not Joe or anything else, just the whole culture. But then he threw it in a trash can. Now, I or you or any of us would go to prison for a very long time for throwing a gun in a dumpster 9 days after you bought it.
Do you think he pleads out?
I hope that there's some real, tangible, legal results against the things that have been done to this country from a lot of people, not just Joe Biden, but look at Obama's not district attorney, but the lead guy, Fast and Furious. Americans were killed. Those guns were given to Mexico. Oh, by the way, a female was just elected president of Mexico. I hope to God she has great bodyguards, because 25 people were killed in the mayorships, 25 people over the last 2 months murdered.
Jay, appreciate the call. Thanks so much. Let's go to Johnny, line 2. You're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Johnny.
Good morning. Now, when I was living in LA in 81, I got sucker punched. And, you know, that's LA, right? So about 3 Tuesdays ago, my wife and I were walking on 14th and Spear, and out of the blue, I mean, I wasn't even thinking that this could happen here in Denver. And you don't know, I'm visually impaired. I'm totally blind. So some guy comes up behind me and says, "So you won't F me this way again?" And then boom. And I'm thinking like, wow. LA, New York is now here. And they got a good picture of the guy, because King Soopers has like these good cameras and stuff like that. My wife was able to identify him. But he knew not to look back, because she could see him, and he knew exactly what he was doing. And it's just now a sport that was in LA, in New York, and now is here.
Johnny, when was that?
About 3 Tuesdays ago.
Are you doing okay now?
I mean, I got scarred up a little bit, but I'm in good health, and I work out. So, but if it was an older person on a walker, I don't think they would have been hurt worse.
Yeah. And you don't know this person at all, do you? There's no previous interaction. Yeah, it's just and I appreciate what you're saying about it becoming sport. As far as we're seeing more of this in larger cities, the idea of just random violence that is not even attached to any cause, that it is just because you were walking down the street. And oddly enough, just like in your case, Johnny, I would assume that the person that attacked you saw you as an easier target. They don't go and hang out outside the gym and wait for the dude that has just been bench pressing 450 to come out and punch him. They come up behind you as you're walking with your wife through a store and attack you from behind. They're not really looking for a fight. They're just looking to, be an ass.
Plus, he was on a 12-hour rampage. This white guy came across from me, and he said that he had just got through punching this other lady, which if he was on a 12-hour rampage, is it because of the defunding the police that they said, well, we can't, somebody called 911, maybe the first hour, second hour, third hour, 4 hours, and then, I submitted my police report, but it took 12 hours to actually catch up with this guy.
Jeez. And remember, Johnny, we just were told by Denver recently that because of staffing issues, there were certain types of calls and certain crimes they weren't even going to respond to anymore.
You
so I think you got something there, man. Yeah.
Johnny, I got a question for you.
All right.
Democrats are not totally naive to the problems that these communities are facing. And Denver didn't used to be like this. Lakewood didn't used to be like this. They have total control of these cities. There's not a Republican that's stopping them from making changes. They have total control over the state government. Why won't Democrats admit that some of their problems are causing harms to these communities, to these neighborhoods, and seek to change them? Why won't they address these problems?
I'll tell you what my Democratic sister said. I said, well, pick up a phone and you voted these people in, call them. And she says, oh, they won't do nothing about it. So they have this attitude of, yes, I voted in, but I'm not going to take responsibility. I'm not going to put pressure on them. I'm just going to throw my hands up. And I said, you're the problem. Yeah. You're going to vote them in, but you're not going to call them up and challenge them and hold their feet to the fire and say, this has to change.
I mean, is it, and Bill, you're an independent. If you're wrong, you admit it. Oh, yeah. If I'm wrong, I feel like, you know what, like for instance,
I have 4 kids. I'm wrong on a daily basis. I mean, just
I think I got the war in Iraq wrong.
Yeah.
I was a defender of it early on. I looked at the attacks in 9/11 and I said there's an element of radical Islamism that needs to be addressed. And we're going to bring democracy to these countries.
Yeah,
I was very excited about the idea that we were going to revolutionize and bring modernity to these backward, countries like Iraq.
They've been thirsting for it.
Yes. I think I was wrong in that, and I'm willing to admit that. Why can't these elected officials go, you know what, defunding the police was stupid.
Yeah.
We've actually made the city of Denver worse. Why won't they admit that?
It's a good question. And Johnny, I got to ask you this question because I think where Jeff is going is somewhat remarkable because Johnny, what would be your view of a political candidate that would come out regardless of party and say, listen, we got this one wrong. We need to change X, Y, or Z because what I thought at the time was going to work and what my cohorts thought was going to work isn't. We need to do it differently. Now, Johnny, if a politician, regardless of it's Republican or Democrat, comes out and tells you that, do you have more or less respect, more or less trust for that politician?
Well, I may have some respect, but then I'm the kind of person like, they say a lot of things every 2 to 4 years to see them in action. And that's why I voted for Trump, because he said what he was going to do, and then he did it. He just didn't say it and then get in office and turn the other way. So it's hard to find a candidate that will say what he means and do what he says because he's just trying to get in there.
Yeah, see, Johnny, I think that's exactly it. And that's why I wanted to ask that question. I appreciate your response because I think that's the reason why Jeff was asking, why don't more politicians come out and do it? And I think you've shown exactly why. Because the assumption we would say is the politician came out and going, gosh, I've gotten this wrong. We need to do X, Y, and Z differently because I messed up. And rather than saying, wow, they're coming to us and admitting a fault, we assume, what game are they playing? because of how politicians, as Johnny, you're absolutely accurate, lie to us so often, our assumption is even when they want to take responsibility for their faults, they're still lying to us. That's why I think they don't do it, because we're going to believe them. So they don't have to.
1972, CB Wonder and the Jackson 5 came out the song, said, "You haven't done nothing." 1972, and here we are, 2004. They're still doing the same thing. But now he's a part of the in party now. So
yeah.
Johnny, really appreciate the call. Great call.
Sorry to hear
And I'm
about that,
glad you're feeling better. I'm sorry you got sucker punched a blind guy.
And again, if we find out who it is, Johnny, but just between you and me, off air, I mean, so if nobody else paying attention here, I'm not going to admit to any criming. But if we find out who it is, Johnny, I am more than happy to hold him down for a while. I'm just saying I got your back, man. I'm more than happy to let you go to town on him. So I appreciate that, man. Have a good day.
Jeff and Bill would be the only people in jail because nobody else in this city's put in prison.
To help Johnny get revenge on that guy, send me to jail.
There we go.
I will, like when Donald Trump says, I will go to jail for no. For me, that's the cause. I'll go to jail for that.
For our listeners, we will. Johnny's line's open, 303-696-1971. Look, if you're living with knee pain, back pain, elbow pain, joint pain, that happens as you get older. You're not alone. It affects millions and it impacts your quality of life. But there's hope. You don't have to go under the knife. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, that lower back pain, elbow pain, muscle strains, herniated discs, things can worsen with movement and time, but you don't have to risk surgery. There's a safer option. With no downtime and a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics today and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Call them at 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation. That's painfreecolorado.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff Hunt sent you. We'll continue with your calls and texts. By the way, speaking of people that may be admitting they're wrong, Democrats starting to change on Dr. Fauci. We'll give you the details and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. North Korea has said it will stop sending balloons full of garbage into South Korea after having sent 3,500 balloons carrying 15 tons of waste into the country. Pyongyang said it will not hesitate to resume the practice if South Korea continues to drop anti-North Korea leaflets into its territory. Seoul said it would take unendurable measures against its northern neighbor if the garbage flights didn't stop, including blaring propaganda through loudspeakers aimed at the north, a practice not used since 2018. Hunter Biden's trial on gun charges kicks off today in Delaware. It's the first of two criminal trials Joe Biden's son faces this election year. Ira Spitzer reports.
Jury selection is beginning at a court in Wilmington, Delaware for Hunter Biden's trial on 3 felony charges related to the purchase and possession of a firearm obtained by the president's son in 2018. Prosecutors say he did so despite knowing that he used illegal drugs at the time. The trial comes after a plea deal collapsed last summer that would have settled this case and a separate tax evasion case for which Hunter Biden faces a trial in California in September. Republicans have sought to keep the president's son's legal problems in the spotlight ahead of November's election.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. We're discussing this report from the Common Sense Institute. Ongoing cost of the migrants in the Denver metro region has skyrocketed, and it's not 90 million. Sorry, Mikey Johnston. It's 216 million to 340 million. A lot of that coming from education, healthcare costs. Let's go to the phone lines. Joan from Lakewood, you're on the Jeff and Bill Show, News Talk 710 KNUS. Good morning, Joan.
Morning.
Good morning. How are you doing?
Good.
We're
Hope you had a
off
good
and
weekend.
running on Monday.
Yeah, and you're going to go see our friend DJ Summers tomorrow too, aren't you?
Yes, I am.
Excellent.
I'm very
Say hi.
excited about that. I shall. I believe that the lawfare trials and the illegal immigration problem resonate with Americans because both of them are unfair.
I think that's the key word, Joan. Unfair. That matters a lot to Americans.
It does, because Americans are very much about making things fair. And I don't think that the trial that Trump got was fair. And I think that the Hunter trial that's coming up might, I don't know. Billy doesn't think it's fair, but I do believe that Hunter at least is being tried for
An actual crime, yeah.
As opposed
Joe,
to
I
business.
agree with you. I agree with you that Hunter absolutely is guilty of what he did. The only analogy that I make is in both instances, they are crimes that are rarely charged. That's the only thing. That's the only thing that I say. I think both of them are rarely charged.
And there I believe you're wrong.
Okay.
I don't think they've ever charged what they've charged with the bookkeeping and stuff after it's gone away as far as the terms and stuff with Trump. What they did is they trumped it all up. I do believe that what they're doing with Hunter has been done, and I kind of think, and this goes towards you, that it's been done with rich, privileged people.
What do you mean by that? Like the rich? Are you saying that it's done with rich, privileged people for Hunter or for Trump? I didn't follow you there. I'm just asking for clarification.
Okay, so the crime of filling out papers wrong
Oh yeah,
has been prosecuted in the past.
that is true.
And if you look at the people that have been prosecuted, they are usually rich. They're old band members that are on their way down and maybe aren't doing their taxes properly or something. But you don't find that the people who are poor and lie on their handgun, well, first of all, they don't fill out the paperwork.
Well,
but
I'm not sure about that one only because access to legal representation, that it would be much easier for someone of means to have legal representation to avoid a conviction versus someone that is poor. It's the same reason why the IRS targets more middle income earners than rich earners or even corporations, because the time and effort involved based on the return is much greater when they attack you and I than if they go after the Trumps or the Bidens on that one.
Well, and most of these deals are pled out. Here's an interesting line from the New York Times editorial. Over a 12-month period ending last fall, just 290 of the nearly 72,000 federal criminal defendants charged by the Justice Department were acquitted of the trial. That's less than 0.5%. So typically, if they're bringing charges, they're going to do it.
Oh, yeah.
Only 1,379 were convicted at trial. That's 2%. The vast majority facing a DOJ indictment decided either to plead guilty outright or accept a plea deal, believing that the prosecutor had correctly weighed their chances of winning in front of a jury before bringing it to case.
And what percentage of those plea deals involve fines?
Involved, I'm sorry, what?
Fines. She's looking for money. I don't know. Yeah. I'm not sure we have that number in front of us. And
I don't.
And that's kind of my thing with Joan. And you had a text message earlier talking about possible punishments for Donald Trump. And you were talking about him possibly going to jail. I don't think he will. I don't think Marshawn will do that. Well, I think he could sentence him to prison, but then I think if he does, he'll suspend the sentence. Because for me, that is King Solomon splitting the baby. It gives the Democrats a prison sentence, but then he suspends it for X, Y, or Z reasons, whatever that is, and excuses it, and then that gives the Republicans what they want. So that to me would be him splitting the baby. I think it's much more likely that he decides to levy a fine. And the only reason is this. This case is going to be the target of numerous appeals, and there's going to be a lot of examination of it. I firmly believe that Marshawn is trying to do whatever he can to not get overruled and have this case overturned, because that will be the self-fulfilling prophecy of the narrative for the Republicans. This judge is a sham. He's corrupt. He can't do it right. So I feel the last thing that Marshawn wants is for this decision to be overturned. And if he goes softer on Trump, I think there's a greater likelihood that it stands. If he sits there and says 5 years in jail, 25 years in jail, this thing's going to be overturned and quickly, in my opinion. That's just what I feel. I feel that's what he's playing.
No, I think you're wrong. I honestly thought there'd be a hung jury. I honestly was surprised what happened. I think half of America went, "Are you freaking kidding me?" And that's why you're seeing all of the donations. The volunteers that have been calling into some of the Republican headquarters, people calling to volunteer, has been astronomical over the weekend. And the thing that I believe is that he put this sentencing 4 days before the Republican convention. 4 days before. And he's going to do something. He might put him under house arrest for 60 days, and that would keep him off the trail for 2 more months. Or say he can't travel to the convention to be nominated. They will do everything, because I have seen what they will do.
Yeah, I understand your conclusion there, Joan, but I feel like you are operating off of the idea that the Department of Justice and Biden is doing this to get Trump, that it's some sort of coordinated plan. And here's the reason that I've got some questions about that. And when you say that absolutely Marshawn is going to throw him in jail, is you accurately described that this case has never been charged this way before. It is mostly misdemeanors in the Trump case. And I agree, Alvin Bragg stretched legal theory in order to make them felonies. And what I look at on appeal, the appellate court is going to look at not only what happened inside of the case, but also the decision, the ruling, and the sentencing. If Marshawn sentenced, in my opinion, Trump to a significant amount of prison time, given that most people that have this similar crime pay fines, the verdict, in my opinion, is going to be overturned, because it looks like you're going after Trump harder. If Marshawn follows the basic guidelines of people that are convicted of this crime in other areas, then he has a stronger leg to stand on. I still think the last thing Marshawn wants is for this verdict to be overturned, because then he proves the Republican narrative that he's a crappy judge and he can't be trusted and might be in the tank. So he needs this thing to stand. Rather than him trying to get Trump, which I think is your conclusion, I think that he's trying to protect his reputation, that he needs this verdict to stand, and he will do whatever he can in the sentencing in order to make sure on appeal this stands. But just my opinion.
No, he has no concern about his reputation. He will still be invited for martinis in Manhattan.
Why?
He is going to... What?
Why? Because again, hang on a sec. As soon as the verdict goes away, he's no longer the guy that got Trump. Because as soon as the appeal is accepted and the verdict is overturned, he no longer found Trump guilty of crap. Trump's away. It all disappears. Everything that Marshawn did in that courtroom evaporates as if it never existed. I know. No. But that's why he can't. Because it'll be like Bobby waking up in Dallas and dreaming that someone shot JR. Nothing but a dream. That's going to be the problem. He doesn't get invited to the parties if he's the dude that just participated in a dream. He needs it to stick.
I disagree with you. Hewitt disagrees with you. And I no longer believe that the Democrats won't do anything that they possibly want to do. I live in Lakewood. Jeff has been talking about what Lakewood City Council does and how they get elected and how they promise things, and then they just do what they damn well please.
Joan from Lakewood, great conversation. Thanks so much for joining the Jeff and Bill
Appreciate
show
it.
today. Let's go to Jacqueline in just a second. Speaking of Lakewood, do you have a high school student considering their college plans? Are they ready to discover more about their gifts and talents? Do you hope to see them become part of the next generation of Christian leaders? Your student is invited to Colorado Christian University's Discovery Preview. This week-long event is completely free. It's coming up here soon. Discovery Preview is designed for students who desire to seek God's purpose and calling in their lives. Students are immersed in the community, culture, and mission of CCU. Workshops focused on calling, career, and Christ-centered leadership help them explore their unique strengths and potential career options. CCU's Christ-centered community even takes the students on a Colorado adventure to experience the beauty of the Rocky Mountains. Eligible students can also qualify, listen to this, for a $1,250 annual scholarship just for attending. Don't miss Discovery Preview this summer, June 17th through the 21st. The event is designed for seniors and juniors in high school. And again, it's absolutely free. To learn more, go to ccu.edu/discovery. That's ccu.edu/discovery. Let's go to Jacqueline, Nebraska. You're on the Jeff and Bill show, News Talk 710 KNUS.
Good morning.
Well, good morning, fellas. I've been listening this morning, and I listened to a program Friday with Dennis Prager, and he pretty much laid it out, and it made a lot of sense. You know, what we're watching right now is an invasion. We're also watching our economy go in the tank. Our crime is up. Law enforcement has been attacked. Our court system seems to be under attack. The American people and our way of life is under attack, the way we live. Now, this is not some old man in Washington named Joe Biden doing all of this. Biden couldn't put two sentences together. But I'm going to tell you, this is a well-orchestrated plan to keep the Democrat Party in power. Every bit of it.
Yep.
Now, these people that have come in here across the border are going to be voting in November. You mark my words, I've said it all along. Only 3%, maybe 0.3% that came across that border in the last 4 or 5 years are children. The rest of them are adult males. Very few females, adult
How
males.
are they going to, Jacqueline, how are they going to vote?
Well, I'm going to tell you, if they give them a visa and a driver's license, they'll be voting.
That
This is a
doesn't,
permanent.
wait, Jacqueline, that doesn't allow them to vote. The Colorado driver's license that migrants get says specifically on it that they are not allowed to vote. In order for them to register and get those IDs, they're not allowed to vote. That would be, illegal. So how are they going to vote? I hear this a lot. I'm just curious as to how. No one's ever explained to me the how, other than big, giant conspiracy. So I need something more solid than that.
I never thought they'd take Donald Trump to court, and I never thought he'd be found guilty of this either. But I'm going to tell you, don't underestimate the Democrat Party.
I know, but
Well,
none of that is a system,
to this
though.
point, though,
None of that answers the
we
question.
literally, to the very same people that are like, we have laws, you cannot cross this border. And then they just kind of cross the border. And then we're like,
Well, that's
and
what
we
I'm
have
telling you
laws, they
now.
cannot vote. I mean,
legally, you're right. They shouldn't. Legally, they shouldn't be here, but
Right.
they are.
Yes.
So don't underestimate what's going on, because I'm telling you, they've got to stay in power. And I look for them to throw the book at President Trump. I look for them to go after him. I look for them to go after anybody that they possibly can, because if they don't stay in power, I'm telling you,
So,
they'll pull out all the stuff,
Jacqueline,
and they are.
okay, if Marshawn does not throw the book at Donald Trump, what's your conclusion?
You know, if he doesn't do it to him, I think Donald Trump might win that election. If Donald Trump's able to get out and vote or out and campaign, great. But I'm not going to put all my eggs in one basket and say, well, he'll do the right thing because he doesn't want to look like an ass, because I don't think the guy cares. His family is getting millions of dollars. And when he's done with this whole thing, he don't even have to work anymore. He's got it made.
Okay.
He's done what they wanted him to do.
Okay, now, Jacqueline, I appreciate that. And thank you so much for the time of the call today. I just want to put a pin in that. And I want people out there that are sharing the sentiments of both Joan and Jacqueline we'll circle back after Marshawn makes the ruling. Let's see what happens. Let's see what the conversations are. Because if he doesn't throw the book at Trump, then your assumptions about what the Democrats are doing might be off. Your assumptions about trying to get him.
I'm not sure you have to say that if he doesn't punish Trump to the fullest level that he can, that this wasn't a sham trial and all that stuff.
But that was the conclusion of both Joan and Jacqueline.
And
he's going to do it because of that. And so I'm asking, and again, I submit, regardless of whether or not you think it's a sham trial or not, that Marshawn needs this thing to stand. Part of the sentencing is that, and he needs to. Right. So the idea of him coming out and going to go, I'm going to sentence Donald Trump for 300 years in prison, as we are hearing on like the Curvy Couch in the morning on Fox and Friends. No, he's not going to do that because that will be immediately overturned on appeal. Yeah. He needs it to stand because I think Joan's right about him wanting to get to the right cocktail parties, but he can't do that if his verdict goes poof.
Great point, Bill. All right, guys, for those of you with a full head of hair, congratulations. Studies show that one of the most attractive physical features is a full head of hair. Want to know the least attractive and most aging? It's hair loss. No amount of car, house, or success can make up for that thinning or balding, as it leaves the greatest lasting physical impression. It doesn't have to be that way. Advanced Hair is the quick one-day solution to your hair loss. No more expensive pills or special shampoos, just your very own natural hair, guaranteed to grow. And with Advanced Hair, your new hair can grow for life. Advanced Hair has improved tens of thousands of lives, including top radio personalities across the country. I've had family members get their hair done. Guys, it brought energy back to them, youthfulness back to them. Dating life's doing better as a result of it. Did I mention your own natural hair begins to regrow the very next day? For your free consultation, call 720-459-HAIR. And if you qualify, get $250 off and 250 free hair grafts. That's 720-459-HAIR, or visit advancedhair.com. That's advancedhair.com. All right, I want to get into this because Fauci right now, before a House committee, Democrats are starting to change on him. Give us a call, 303-696-1971. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
Welcome back to the Jeff and Bill Show. Great conversations on the true cost of illegal immigration to the city of Denver. By the way, ladies are piping mad. Joan from Lakewood texted in too. She said, like, all the ladies are fired up today.
Love it.
I love it. Dr. Fauci in front of Congress today. It's been 2 years since he's been in front of Congress, and Politico has an article out. Democrats are starting to turn on him, concerned about how he actually handled gain of function, whether or not he was honest about it all. We'll get into that and more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. think that warning us about me. Just taking it a little personal. I'm not saying it's wrong.
Joan wrote it. Joan wrote it for the station.
Yes. Well done. Well done, my friend. That's good. 9
a.m. in the Mile High City. Good morning, Denver, Colorado. You've tuned into the Jeff and Bill Show on 710 KNUS. I'm your co-host, Jeff Hunt, along with Bill Thorpe, bringing you the freshest insights and hottest takes from the right, left, center, and crazy. Look, I know it's going to be a wild election season. You feel like you want to wring the neck of the other side. This is cathartic. This is the counseling session that we all get to have so that we don't end up driving this nation into another civil war. Your voice is heard on this station. So give us a call, 303-696-1971. 303-696-1971. It's a beautiful day in the greatest country in history. We're gearing up for a whole nother hour of engaging discussions, critical analysis, most importantly, your calls and texts, because this is where Denver's voice is heard loud and clear. So grab a cup of coffee, Denver. I've had too much. I'm trying to come down from the amount of coffee I've had today.
Third cup is the best cup. All the real coffee drinkers know that
I know.
one. Yes.
I'm about to take off sprinting home. Let's dive into the issues that matter most to you right here, right now. Dr. Anthony Fauci testifying before a congressional committee. Politico headline, Fauci to face House COVID investigators amid growing concern about the handling of virus research. I spent most of the evening watching old testimonies between him and Rand Paul. And I think my sense telling me Rand Paul was right about a lot of this stuff. So we'll get into that conversation more. And Democrats starting to come over on the kind of conservative side on this. Is they're starting to raise some eyebrows about Dr. Anthony Fauci. You know, there is a whole religion around Dr. Anthony Fauci, Bill.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
What is it? What
is that? You literally get to heaven through the eye of a needle.
Nice job. Good job. That's good.
All right, let's check in on the news with Blake Olson. Good morning, Blake.
Rand Paul crushes him every time. It'll happen again. Good morning, guys. 69 and sunny in Denver, expecting highs in the upper 80s today. The 7-10 5-day forecast coming up. Our top story, one man is dead and another is still missing after a raft flipped over on the Colorado River in Grand County. The accident was reported Saturday and found 56-year-old Brent Bolter unresponsive. Bolter was later pronounced dead. 61-year-old Thomas Russell hasn't been found yet.
Wow. You know, Blake, I was a river guide for 5 summers.
Yes.
And a lot of the health issues that happen in whitewater rafting are heart attacks because of how cold the water is. People don't realize that you're dealing with snow runoff. That water's about 50 degrees. And so when you fall out, it's a shock to your system. And people have heart attacks, or the life jackets aren't put on properly. And so those will fall off. And
how about helmets or lack thereof? I mean, you always have to have a helmet.
You know, that's a really good question, Blake, because I'm a little torn on this. When I started, nobody wore helmets, right? Nobody did. Now it's kind of like, well, you're going to go raft a lake, you should wear a helmet. So it's a little overblown. But
if you're
you gotta, it's probably better. I put my kids in helmets because it's safe. But you know, there's a lot that can go on out there. So go with a guiding service. A lot of times you'll get these guys that go up and drink a few beers and throw in a raft they got from Kmart or Walmart and then deal with problems. We had to train for 6 weeks over the course of 2 years to get really good at guiding. Because it's intense out there, man.
Oh, it is. It's frightening to me. I won't do it anymore. I mean, I see those big
I'll
rocks.
take you, Blake. We'll have a good time.
Way.
Dude, I'll get on the oars. You just fish out the back. Well, fine.
I like that one that goes east, right on the other side of the Continental Divide toward Grand Junction. It's nice and slow.
Yeah, just the float trip, man.
Yeah,
the Green River.
No, that's fine.
The green is just a big float trip, and you just camp. Right, and your kids jump off and float, and there's none of the crazy stuff.
I'll take you up on that sometime, no doubt. A woman is dead after she fell off her e-bike into Boulder Creek Canyon on Friday. Witnesses called 911 after they spotted a woman floating face down in the creek, and first responders pulled her from the water. She was transported to the hospital, but died of her injuries before she arrived. 2 people recovering from gunshot wounds following a shooting at 7-Eleven on Hampden. A mother and her 17-year-old son were hit by stray bullets during the shootout, and the son remains in the hospital. Police looking for suspects. Hunter Biden's criminal gun trial underway in Delaware. It marks the first time the child of a sitting U.S. president has gone on trial. Former President Trump has raised $200 million after being mershammed last week in New York. Eric Trump says Americans have had enough.
Right? I mean, these are Americans who are pissed off. They're coming out of the woodwork, and they want to support a guy that they just believe is getting bamboozled by a system. And we saw it with impeachment 1. We saw it with impeachment 2. We see it where they weaponize every liberal DA and AG across the country with one intent to take him down, to slander him, to ruin his reputation, to try and divide his family, to try and bankrupt him, to throw him in jail, to do whatever the hell they can do. And America sees through it. They know exactly what's going on.
Trump on Fox News Channel over the weekend, and President Biden says there will be executive action dealing with the southern border before tomorrow. No way, as the southern border remains virtually wide open.
Hey, what's the matter, Mr. Sanford? I mean, sounds like you don't care for this idea. El correcto.
DJ Summers from the Common Sense Institute on with Jeff and Billy a couple of hours ago, and he says illegal immigrants in the city of Denver are actually costing us more than we think.
The city has spent $71 million, like the mayor's administration has said, but that doesn't account for what's being spent at the educational level and at the healthcare level. So if you stack all those together, we're talking about a metro-wide expenditure since December 2022 of somewhere between $216 and $340 million.
Wow. All right. In sports, Rockies lose 4-0 to the Dodgers. Reds in town today at Coors, 6:30 first pitch. Brandon McManus, Washington Commanders' career is over. The team released him on Sunday. The move comes after McManus was accused of sexual assault in a May lawsuit. It's 65 in Littleton, 66 in Lakewood, 69 in Denver. Required viewing for Jeff. Come on, Jeff, you got to catch up here. I know you're young, but you need to watch Sanford and Son.
Yeah.
Oh, it's the worst one. This is a big one. I'm dying.
Elizabeth.
I'm coming to join you, honey.
That's so good. It is so
Oh,
good.
you gotta watch it, Jeff.
Yes.
He has a heart attack every
episode.
every episode.
Every episode he's going to go
Every
see his ex-wife Elizabeth, and then it's always the aunt. It's always like always calling him sucker. What are you talking about, sucker?
Yes,
It is.
exactly.
So good. And it's Red Fox, so classic
Yeah.
old comedian, and it's fun to see Red on that situation as far as that sitcom.
No
because
doubt.
he works so blue. He
Yes.
is dirty.
He
When he does
is,
stand
man.
up, he holds nothing back, and to see
Wow.
him in that situation is fantastic. It's really cool.
If you ever watched him on stage during that time,
Yeah.
I mean, you think Don Rickles was
Yeah.
back in the day. Oh my goodness. So you
Yeah.
need to watch that instead
I
of
got
going
some
home
homework.
and watching court
you do.
TV.
You do.
Yeah,
Do some
that's
Sanford and Son.
right.
Yeah, you have to. He has to come back. Well, he has to come back and tell us about Lamont and how Lamont has
Yes.
been hurt and wronged over and over again.
No doubt. He may be shocked at some of the language.
Totally. Yeah, you couldn't do that show today. It's great.
It's the best. Jeff and Bill continue on Monday morning. Blake Olson, News Talk 710 and KNUS.
Oh, it's the worst one. This is a big one. I'm dying. You hear that, Elizabeth? I'm coming to join you, honey.
Here's your 710 5-day forecast. Denver will be warm and sunny with the upper 80s likely today. Just a slight chance of an isolated evening thunderstorm, then lows tonight in the upper 50s to near 60. Low to mid 80s, partly cloudy and breezy Tuesday and dry. Dry Wednesday and Thursday, both days near 90. So Tuesday through Thursday dry. Warm Friday, thunderstorms late. Warm for the weekend with late day thunderstorms returning. I'm
All right,
meteorologist Don Day
Dr.
in the 710.
Fauci in front of a House panel as they press Fauci on the COVID origins. Political reporting yesterday on quite a lengthy article. Democrats vigorously defended the public health bureaucracy and especially its leader, Anthony Fauci, when Republicans sought to tear it down during the pandemic. But now in an unexpected twist, Democrats on a House investigative panel are starting to join the GOP colleagues in questioning whether government-backed scientists were fully transparent about controversial virus research and whether a longtime advisor to Fauci skirted public record requests. This newfound Democratic skepticism is being put to the test on Monday when Fauci is testifying on whether he was honest about government involvement in risky virus experiments. The testimony, Fauci's first public appearance in Capitol Hill since he left government at the end of 2022, comes amid a broader reassessment by Americans on how the government handled the pandemic and debate over the disease's origin. I'm glad we're having these debates because it always felt to me, Bill, like we went through the craziest scenarios, and made public policy decisions that affected this country in so many ways.
Yeah.
And then it just felt like one day we were just like, meh, time to move on, and went on about different things. And I'm like, no.
Yeah.
We kicked moms and preschoolers off airplanes for not wearing masks. Can we just talk? Can we as a nation come to consensus that there were some things we did that were stupid?
Airplanes, though. Airplanes I can see because the airplanes are a closed germ tube. And
No.
oh yeah, they are. They're awful.
No,
yes,
not
airplanes are closed
preschoolers
germ.
in masks.
No, but the issue is this: that it's a closed ecosystem. And if someone is sick on a plane, anybody who has come back home or gone on vacation and ended up sick when you arrive, part of that is likely exposure to something on that plane, just because of how close you are, how it circulates. So outside, now, where I do side with you are things like schools. And there are things like closing down certain businesses and restaurants. I do side with you on there. For me, it's okay. I got a thing against the airplanes. They're a little dirty inside. Don't even get me started about the water systems. Never drink the water. I always drink the bottled water. Never drink the water that they just pour for you at the plane.
Yeah.
Never. It'll
They don't
kill
clean
you.
it. They don't clean them.
It'll kill you.
But
so I can see that.
I mean, do you?
Yeah.
Do you? I went back and I watched testimony after testimony, hours of testimony yesterday.
That was really smart. I wish I'd done that. That's smart.
To look at the original questions that
Yeah.
Republicans put towards Fauci and how he's
what'd you
kind of
find?
changed over time.
Really?
Right?
Yeah, like talk to me about that.
No, absolutely not. We do not engage in gain of function research in China. Well, it depends on what you mean by gain of function.
Yeah, how are we defining gain of function?
How
yeah.
are we defining it? And this haziness that exists. And I watched a bunch of Rand Paul, and then I watched Marco Rubio. And I think Marco Rubio had it best, where he just goes, within 4 months, we had the host that created SARS-1. We knew who it was.
Yeah.
4 months in. 9 months in, we knew what animal produced MERS. If China knew which animal produced COVID, we would know. They'd have every reason to be like, we got the bat.
Yeah.
Here it is. I mean, we found him with other ones, and we found him relatively quickly. China is not honest about this. They have every reason to be honest if it came from an animal, and every reason to deny it if it came from a lab. We're years away, and we still have no clue where this thing came from.
Yeah, they don't necessarily have every reason to tell us that if it came from an animal, because the other theory behind that are things like the wet market and and zoonotic crossovers, as far as it jumping from one species to another, which we are seeing. I mean, we're having bird flu jump from birds to cows to humans here in the U.S. So it does happen, and China is so worried about their forward-facing presentation to the rest of the world. I can see why they would say, hey, if it's a wet market, we're not going to do it, because it would be, oh my gosh, look at these dirty Chinese people, and they're the reasons that we have these diseases spreading.
But that's got to be 100 times better than being, we cooked it up in a lab.
Oh, absolutely, 110%,
it killed
yes.
hundreds of millions of people, I think, or I don't know how many people, but a lot of people died. From this.
Oh, yeah, that's
we're
thing.
Sorry it came from a wet market. We're going to adjust it, as opposed to, we Frankensteined this thing in a lab, and now we're kind of held a little bit liable for this.
I don't think they'd come forward with either one of them, because, and again, you are absolutely right that the idea escaping from the lab is a much darker mark on their resume than the other. I think they're just so worried about appearances. And remember, these are the people, when we talked about science and shutting things down, where they closed entire cities for months
Yeah.
where you could not leave your house. That was punishable by the police. So they went a little bit different. And there are some, some countries that had some great responses. Not so much. But that, for me, it's mostly because we did not lean on science. We exposed our science illiteracy on many, many, many levels. And part of it even lays at the feet of Dr. Fauci, because some of the conclusions and some of the things that he said were not backed up by science or research.
Yeah.
And the thing that I throw the biggest rocks at him for, and the government, and again, we have to remind this was under both Donald Trump and Joe Biden administrations. The things I throw the rocks the biggest for is not coming out and explaining how science works, because it was intuitively obvious to even the most casual observer that the average American had no clue as far as how science works. They don't understand the scientific method. They don't understand scientific research. They don't understand the process at all, but nobody explained it to them. I'm not sitting here and saying, hey, America, sorry, you're so stupid. I'm saying, no, you were not given the opportunity to learn from the people that should have told you. The first few press conferences should have been, this is how the process works. We are here. This is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and this is going to happen, and these things are going to change. This is our best guess now, but the one thing they never said is expect this to change, and that was baked into the system.
That's true,
and they knew it. They knew it. Fauci knew it. He knew that the recommendations he was going to make were going to change because of his background in science. But did he say it to you and I? No. That's where I'm pissed.
There was this element of shutting down debate. And this is where, like, you want to get my spidey sense, red sirens. Anytime a government official seeks to shut down any type of discussion, debate, pressure, all that. I remember the big moment I lost respect for Kyle Clark.
Yeah.
The biggest moment was when he said about COVID stuff, you guys are asking questions about it. You need to treat this like your house is on fire and the fireman is showing up, and you need to do whatever he tells you to do.
Yeah. Now, here's the thing.
That's where I went, no, you're a journalist, dude. You should be asking questions about all this stuff. And is it right? And is this actually working? Because now you're getting testimony coming out that Fauci just kind of made up the 6-foot rule.
Well, we don't know if it's him, but we don't know where it came from. So it's not like
Right.
we don't. I know, but it's careful with that, because we don't know that Fauci said, okay, guys, 6 feet. What he did say is that he doesn't know where that recommendation came from, and it is likely back tied into the original Spanish flu. And that was the distance at the time.
These guys went nuclear on 6 feet. Same
yeah.
thing with masks and all this stuff.
But
like,
again, I don't want to debate the masks, but the masks,
just
for what the masks
but
do,
why not allow
they do
people
it.
to question this?
Well,
what is so wrong?
Here's the problem
with questioning some of this stuff.
Here's the problem. You're right about people should be allowed to question some of the things, but I go back to my original point that we don't understand how science works. We demonstrated that openly in public, and it should have been responsibility of our government to say, no, this is how the process is going to work. They should have come out and said, right now, we feel this is the best protocol. Remember when we were all wiping down our groceries? Our groceries supposed to come home
and walking down like certain aisles one way or the other.
And they should have come out. Now, after that was done, that is the one instance I can point to where the government and the science hippies came out and said, you know what? You don't have to do that. We were wrong about that. I never saw that again. They should have been doing that every 48 to 72 hours because the knowledge was changing that quickly. They should have come out and said, ooh, that's why the idea of got to send all the kids home. No. Okay, we got to send the kids home for this week. We're going to try to figure this out. Is this effective? And then later on, when we saw that it wasn't necessarily effective and it was negatively impacting the kids, you should have opened up the schools. But because of our scientific illiteracy and the intractability on the part of the government, we handled it poorly. We screwed it up.
And that's why there's no trust.
Yes.
That's why the trust in medicine,
I believe, yes,
and
right.
in researchers has tanked. Do people still get the COVID booster?
Yeah, some do. And the ones that
I understand people, maybe if you have like an underlying health issue.
Those are the people. The people that I
That's
know that
it.
get the boosters are people that have immune diseases and compromised people that are going through things like leukemia treatments. I just had someone get a spot on their lung, and they had to go through some chemotherapy, and they recommended making sure they had the booster because your immune system is compromised at that point. And also people over the age of 70, 75, only because of being older, and there are more indicators that make you more likely. Because again, nobody dies from COVID. You die from what COVID does to your internal systems, your blood pressure, what it does to your heart, what it does to your lungs. That's what you die from.
One of the earlier debates between Rand Paul and Dr. Fauci was over natural immunity and whether or not you still had to mask if you had it before, and whether or not you could get it again, and all these like minutia debates that took place over this stuff.
Okay, got to tell you, that one. Okay, we should step aside, but I'll tell you, that debate, and I remember that debate. I wish I would have gone back and listened to it again. That one pissed me off a lot, because what I saw two people that were arguing next to each other, and nobody was being honest. Rand Paul wasn't being honest. Dr. Fauci wasn't honest. We'll get to you after the break, I'll tell you.
All right. Well, finding a good doctor matters. Finding a good dentist definitely matters. And believe me, if all the work I've had done on my teeth, I know good dentists. It's a genetic issue for me. I can tell you, Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group is a great dentist. He helps people like you and me look and feel amazing by providing the best dental care available. You can see for yourself all the 5-star reviews at RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. Here's one. Do yourself a favor. Go there. Staff goes beyond expectations. They provide excellent service, affordable, friendly, reasonable, gentle, careful, and kind service. And if you're experiencing recession on your upper or lower gums, this happens naturally as you get older, and especially if you had braces later in life, you got to ask Dr. Mike about the groundbreaking procedure called pinhole gum rejuvenation technique. It's a treatment option for those experiencing receding gums. Listen to this. It's scalpel-free, suture-free, and a graft-free procedure. Just a tiny pinhole and a gentle repositioning of the gums. Visit RockyMountainDentalGroup.com. That's RockyMountainDentalGroup.com, or call 303-233-1335 for a free consultation. 303-233-1335, and hang out with Dr. Mike at Rocky Mountain Dental Group. All right, we're going to get to your calls and texts, because this really gets me going. What we did on COVID, the overreaction, the non-scientific reaction, the government intrusion into our lives, and the battles I had to do to get my kids' schools open, the battles I had to do to keep my church open, the battles I had to do against the culture that was just rushing out there telling these young kids to get vaxxed, all this stuff. Oh, man, I'm fired up, and we're going to get to this more. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710, KNUS.
At this hour in Brussels, I'm Alex Cadier. Here are the top stories we're following. Mexico has elected its first female president ever. Claudia Sheinbaum won a landslide victory with around 60% of the vote, the largest win in Mexico's 200-year history. The former mayor of Mexico City is seen as a continuity candidate who will continue the project of her mentor and predecessor, outgoing President Andrés Manuel López Obrador. As president, Sheinbaum will seek to balance the cost of popular welfare policies with Mexico's growing deficit and tackle spiraling cartel violence across the country, including during this election, where 38 candidates were killed. The Federal Aviation Administration will not immediately allow Boeing to increase 737 MAX production as it addresses ongoing safety issues. In New York, Haley Bianco reports.
Boeing has failed to get the immediate go-ahead from the Federal Aviation Administration to increase 737 MAX production. The FAA said that it would work with Boeing over the coming months to understand its quality and safety improvement. Boeing was barred in February from boosting 737 MAX production after a door panel blew out during a January flight on a newly made plane. Last week, its top finance executive said it will burn rather than generate cash in 2024, due in part to delayed deliveries.
And that's what you need to know at this hour. I'm Alex Cadier in Brussels on Salem News Channel.
New York Times coming in with some breaking news. Joe Biden expected to sign executive order restricting asylum. The move expected on Tuesday would allow the president to temporarily seal the border and suspend long-time protections for asylum seekers in the United States. Like, I'm a little shocked by this,
Wow.
Bill.
I'm really shocked by this. Again, I'm shocked on two levels. One, that he's dealing with this based on asylum and just stopping the claims, because we've had this conversation quite a bit, also with the listener, over how do we figure out who's telling the truth and who isn't based on asylum claims. It takes too long to adjudicate. And we've had a caller earlier today that addressed this. The other part that really shocks me is that he thinks this is going to help. That's the other part is, we know this is political. We know that he's not doing this based on the goodness of his heart. He's not doing this based on his motivation to lead the country. He's not doing this based on his vision of America. He's doing this based on what he sees in polls and what he thinks is going to happen in November of this year.
You don't think this is Biden? To this point, we talked about this on the show as an elected official going, I made a mistake.
Here's the thing. If he comes out and says, I made a mistake, yes. But here's the hard part. We're in election year. And if he comes out and says, I made a mistake on the issue that is number one for Trump, oh, boy.
You just hand it over.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you basically are saying that my opponent has this issue that is one of the top two issues that the voting public is dealing with right now locked down.
Did better.
You're giving it to him. And so he can't. He should. But he can't. I'm just surprised. I think he's going to do a damn thing to help their re-election prospects.
Mr. Biden Sr.'s aides, this again from the New York Times, have briefed members of Congress in recent days on the forthcoming action and told them to expect the president to sign the order alongside mayors from South Texas, according to several people familiar with the plans. Listen to this. This is from the New York Times. The order would represent the single most restrictive border policy instituted by Mr. Biden or any modern Democrat, and echoes a 2018 effort by President Donald J. Trump to block migration that was assailed by Democrats and blocked by federal courts.
Yeah. And the Democrats will forget about it.
Wow.
The Democrats will forget. In fact, I mean, we've talked about it that I've been very open that I think one of the huge mistakes that Biden made was rescinding the stay in Mexico policy, because that is effective. Also, again, you're a political strategist. That's a winning message. I mean, regardless of your impression or your opinion of migrants and asylum seekers, having them stay in Mexico, that's a winning message. Because if you think, again, you think all these people are refugees and need to be brought into the country, and we need to open our hearts and our pocketbooks and our communities to give them a new start at life. That's great.
It's got to be the right ones.
Yes, we got to figure out who they are first. So rather than bringing them in and then trying to figure it out, it makes sense for that population, those people that have that bleeding heart, to say, let's figure out who they are first, then get them in. And then, of course, the people that think they're all coming in illegally and are just here to steal everything, they also don't want them in anyway. It's a winning message. And yet he goes, nah, and just took it away. I'm like, really? And now he's coming back, and I guarantee in the next 14 days, we will have a speech of President Biden saying exactly what the New York Times just did. This is the most stringent rules that any Democrat president.
The total 180.
It will be. Yes, it will be. But he'll only mention the Democrat presidents because he knows it's not up to Trump's standards. He knows that. But we'll get that soundbite. We will get that soundbite in the next 14 days. I guarantee it.
I think Democrats tried for years to make the argument that, and I'm trying to remember, there was a book about this, about the long journey. That these are people that have risked everything. They've suffered.
Yeah.
They are trying for a better life. Can't we all just kind of come alongside and understand what they're going through? And from person to person, let's help them out, that type of thing. But it's just so many people. The costs are so big right now.
The other part for me is that, again, okay, here's a wonderful thing I kind of call back to. Over the weekend, friend of the show, employee here, John Corbliss, receives an award from Second Chance Foundation that he's gotten himself off the streets, out of prison, and he's sober. He's got a full-time job. He's starting his life over again. He's making a new start. Everybody in Denver, everybody in America would applaud someone like that getting a new start. Someone that would come from a horrible situation in another country where gang violence or whatever it was, and they were escaping and coming here for a new start, and then getting that chance. The problem being exactly what you said, the numbers. And for me, it's not the total number. It's the fact that we don't know.
Yeah.
We don't know if that is a John Corbliss that we need to help, and all of us would open our hearts and do anything we can, or is it someone that's telling us a fake story and they're coming here to do something else?
To sell.
That's the issue. Yes. Yeah, maybe it's the guy coming up here fentanyl. Maybe it's a guy that, oh my gosh, our fentanyl distributor, our level B guy just got picked up by Stephen Tubbs and the DEA here in Denver. We got to get a new guy there. Now we get him in. We don't know who that guy is. That's the problem. That is the problem with this.
Well, speaking of good guys, I want to talk to you about Dan Caplis and Dan Caplis Law. I've known Dan for decades. Dan, pro-life, pro-family, pro-America. His values are right there with us. Why does it matter? Because who you choose to represent you in an injury case says a lot about you to everyone involved in the case. Dan, he's a former son of a he's a former seminarian. He's the son of a police officer. And Dan Caplis has dedicated the last 40 years of his life to helping people who are hurt in serious motor vehicle crashes. All right. So Dan's with you on values, right? How about a titan in the courtroom? How about a gorilla that's going to go in there? He's the 500-pound gorilla in the room that's going to stand for justice. Dan is believed to be the only lawyer in Colorado history to win 5 straight multi-million-dollar verdicts in Colorado crash cases. Dan is also believed to have won the largest truck crash verdict in Colorado history. Dan Caplis Law is the official law firm partner of the Denver Nuggets and the Colorado Avalanche. Dan Caplis Law is a serious firm for serious cases. Dan accepts righteous injury cases on a percentage fee basis so that he can represent good people from all walks of life without regard to ability to pay. If you need Dan's help, give him a call, 303-770-5551. That's 303-770-5551, or hit dancaplisLaw.com. That's Dan, C-A-P-L-I-S law.com. All right, Fauci in front of Congress today. You think COVID came from that research facility, Bill?
Do I? I am unconvinced. I'm saying it's a possibility, but I am unconvinced that it did. I understand the research they were doing, but it is not unusual, given what was going on as well, to see these type of viruses based on the family jumping across into different animals. And it has to do with how the virus is transmitted and the type of virus that it is. This is not that unusual for these to go through it's called a zoonotic change, where they jump from one animal to another. But again, the part that I was pushed back on with the lab theory, and the reason that I was so distrustful of it, is because it wasn't just a lab leak theory. Almost nobody involved in the lab leak theory stopped there. That was the first part of the sentence. And then there was
have to punish China.
Yeah, no, the comma was, and China did it to take down Donald Trump, or China did it to wage war in America, or China did it. It was always about China doing it so they could get us. That was always the conclusion afterwards. It never was that leaked out of the lab, and that's why China's dealing with it this way, and that's why they're doing this. It was always China did it to get America. And that to me just seemed like an illogical conclusion, because if it was a bioweapon, the one thing you do is you don't release it on your own people first, and then you don't take it to Italy to get to America. It doesn't work that way. And that's why I pushed back on the lab leak theory, because the theory always was accompanied with the assumption that China was attacking. Usually it was because they were attacking Trump or America. That's the part that I push back on the most.
So gain of function is when we essentially engineer a virus that occurs naturally
to do something it's not
nature
doing.
To jump.
Yeah, what it does, gain of function is this. Okay, this is fun. This is a fun thing. And this is one of those things that
the fun thing about gain of function.
It is. I'm sorry. I really geek out about these things. I'm fascinated because, one, viruses technically aren't alive, but two, they are one of the easiest ways that we can watch real-time evolution because of lifespan, how quickly they adapt, and how viruses procreate. And so they adapt and evolve very, very quickly. What gain of function does is jumpstart that process. You would need the virus to get into a certain, if you want the virus to do X, you need to get it into a situation and combine it with certain things and then hope that that develops. The gain of function research is juicing it in that direction, is giving it all the things to push it to that direction, and sometimes even changing some genetic code in order to make it happen.
That's Fauci's argument. If you watch these testimonies in the reason to do gain of function in China, because that's where the bats are. There was a famous conversation between him and Joe Kennedy from Louisiana. Is that right? Joe Kennedy? No. Which Kennedy?
I don't remember.
But there's a senator from Louisiana, the Kennedy, that it basically is like, you did gain of function virus research in China because that's where the bats are. Okay. Yeah. And Fauci's like, yeah, okay. Here's where you're getting Democrats starting to turn on Fauci. They're starting to discover that these guys were communicating via Gmail.
That's a huge issue. That is, and the obfuscation of freedom of information requests.
Yep.
That is a huge problem. And when Fauci was answering Rand Paul's question about gain of function research, I believe, you oftentimes get mad at me because I'm dancing along the line of words and how they're interpreted. Yeah, and I understand how frustrating it is. That's what I saw in Fauci, that the question and the conclusion of Rand Paul was correct, but Fauci was playing with the definition of it. And in my mind, he was wrong. They were funding gain of function research, but they weren't funding the kind of gain of function research that Rand Paul was bashing him about. But he should have been honest about it. And again, that's one of the things, is he shouldn't have been afraid of saying, no, but this is the type of gain of function research it is, and this is the part. However, on a side note, if we are funding a certain type of gain of function research in China, I have zero trust that that is the kind of gain of function research they're going to be doing. I just don't trust them. Whatever they're going to tell us, whatever they're doing, I don't trust them implicitly. So the idea of me sending money, resources, I can use their research and use things their scientists say. But the fact that I'm going to go there and do the stuff, no.
And you're starting to sound like Republican senators, John Kennedy being the one that I was talking about. But so I think it was John Kennedy again presses Fauci as to whether or not he knew the details about everything that was happening in that lab. All right. So you're saying that American funding, based upon the reports you got, was not doing the direct gain of function research necessary to produce the coronavirus. Do you know everything that was happening in that lab?
Yeah.
And Fauci's like, no.
Yeah. So the issue and the parameters that they had built in on the gain of function research funding that was there. And again, and it wasn't Fauci himself writing the checks. It was a group that he was involved with. So, and from what I understand, he also cannot direct that money. He's not the one that says, I choose, it goes here. He has a voice, but he doesn't get to choose. But that's exactly my point. While the money went to the Wuhan lab for a particular type of gain of function research, there's no way, and we have no audit process to find out whether or not that actually happened. I found, and this may pop up later this weekend, You Choose the News, I found a really, really crazy set of scientific experiments going on in China right now. And I'm like, why would you even try this? Why would you even consider doing this? And they're like, well, we found it interesting. Yeah. And I'm like, wait a minute. So again, not trustworthy. I'm like, what? Again, yeah, we'll talk about it. It might pop up in You Choose the News because it is psychotic.
So why is it that we have to crawl over broken glass to get the truth about all this stuff?
I would say,
why would Fauci be communicating via Gmail with one of his colleagues that was part of this stuff?
Yeah, this is the thing for me is I would go back to, and I may just be naive, and many texters will probably share this, is the idea that we are so scientifically illiterate, and the government was doing such a bad job at explaining it to us. They were more afraid about having conversations like these come out than being honest. And saying, just like it's like the theme of the show, and it should be my theme as well. I don't know. That should have been the theme. The theme should have been, we don't know. The very 3 first press conferences should have started out with, we have thousands more questions than we have answers. We don't know. And we also don't know what we don't know about this yet. This is going to change. Expect all of this to change. But right now, this is our best solution going forward. And then the next time it changes again. But that should have been it, because then you can have the conversations. The fact they're going through Gmail is crap. That's telling me they're trying to stay away from official government channels because they're having conversations they feel are difficult and can be used against them.
Do you think this is going to collapse around him, Fauci?
What do you mean by collapse? Tell me what you
So
think.
in the sense of they're going to try to pin him down on testimony he made before Congress, that he either lied or knew that he lied. I think Republicans have that as part of the motivation.
Yeah.
Do you think there's corruption here? I mean, do you think that was hiding from the American people gain of function research? Do you think that
here's the idea: is what would be the corruption would be the issue? I mean, could he just been lying and not be 100% truthful? Yeah, but that to me just makes him a politician. I mean, more than a doctor. The corruption would have to be something that he gained from this. You would have to show to me for corruption that Fauci had some sort of a policy, and if we killed 1 million Americans, then he got a big giant check, or there was something there that was a payoff. I understand there is this, and it is a false rumor, but there's a rumor out there that Fauci is somehow connected to the patents for the vaccines. That is completely and totally bogus. But that's the kind of thing that reinforces the narrative on corruption. And when I talk about us being scientifically illiterate, etc., that's one of those things that went on because the government was so ineffective at telling you what the science is and what they were doing. It allowed things like rumors about Fauci being involved with the patent for the vaccine so he can be a bazillionaire to gain steam. Because if they would have just been honest about it and talked to you about it and said, this is why they didn't come out and say, why we didn't have at least just a 10-minute little video about here's the kind of virus it is. Here are other similar viruses. This is how this virus spreads. We don't know a lot about this virus, but based on these viruses, and it's cold and flu, people, it would have been real easy to explain to you. Cold and flu we experience. It spreads this way.
Right.
COVID is a cousin.
You had the governor of New York doing like daily updates, and the hospitals were full and the morgues were full. And
here's the thing: how different would have changed your attitude towards the virus, the listener's attitude towards the virus, if someone smart, and they had to be in a white coat with some sort of name on the front of it, said, this is a cousin of cold and flu. Cold and flu spreads this way. We expect COVID to spread this way. It does this, and this is why we are concerned. Don't run around and light things on fire. It's not going to be death of everybody else. This isn't the bubonic plague. This isn't SARS. It's not Ebola. But this is how it's spread, so we're going to deal with it this way. Nobody came out and explained to you the type of virus, how it spreads, and the basic facts. And that's it. If we would have started there, we could have at least had a decent conversation. But again, nobody bothered. And Fauci could have. He has the knowledge, and he likes to be in front of the camera. Why the hell not?
I think there's a lot more to this guy. I'm going to look forward to diving into these details on this House testimony. But I'm glad Republicans are continuing to press, because I don't think he's been honest with the American people. And that we have a right to know what was going on in that laboratory, what the American taxpayer was funding, and if this was the result of a lot of pain and suffering and death that took place in this country. Look, as you're getting older, we all deal with pain, whether it's your back pain, your neck pain, your elbow pain. Tired of living with pain? We've got a good solution for you to check out. My friends at QC Kinetics Denver offer regenerative medical treatments. These are non-surgical, drug-free solutions. As we age, lower back pain becomes common. From muscle strains to herniated discs, symptoms like muscle aches and shooting pain can worsen with movement. But why risk surgery when there's a safer option with no downtime? And a free consultation, QC Kinetics often provides same-day treatment. Visit my friends at QC Kinetics and revolutionize your approach to lower back pain. Give them a call today, 303-900-8986. That's 303-900-8986, or visit painfreecolorado.com to schedule your free consultation today. painfreecolorado.com. Be sure to tell them Jeff sent you. All right. Want to get into this? Because it's important you're all dealing with it. How long are those Miller moths going to be around? We'll give you the answer. You're listening to the Jeff and Bill Show.
10 KNUS.
All right, I'm going to take a moment of personal privilege on the Jeff and Bill Show to defend some friends that I think get a bad rap. I've got some family members that despise to their core these beings that God has created, and I don't think it's very fair.
No, I think it's okay because they eventually grow out of it once they get past the terrible 3s. 2s are awful in 3s. So tell them the kids will be better once you hit 4. It's like the clouds part, and all of a sudden it's like, Mother, Father, you are the best, rather than the psycho that's been living in the house for 2 years. So we're not talking about kids? No. Oh, I'm sorry.
No,
Who?
we're talking about the gentle little fluttering miller moths that make their way from the eastern plains up to the high mountains.
They can't fly in a straight line. How do they do it? I have no idea. I have no idea how they go anywhere. I have just no clue.
So, important source of protein for birds and animals alike. They are currently migrating. They go from the eastern plains all the way up to the mountains and can be found at 14,000 feet.
Wow, really?
Yeah, that's right.
Dang.
And they will make their journey back in the fall, but you don't notice them as much because they get eaten and stuff on the way there. But they're totally harmless. I feel like this is important. I'm not going to name names, but I have a family member who has like a knee-jerk, like almost drive the car off the road reaction if there's a little miller moth inside the car.
Oh my gosh, no way.
And you just got to settle down a little bit. But here's the good news, okay?
Yeah.
They stick around where it's cool.
Yes.
That's why last year they stuck around for 6 weeks. Now, since it's getting into the 80s and 90s, they're going to be heading out of here. So you're probably seeing the peak. They'll be moving on.
Yeah, because the temperature gradient is their indication for where to move.
Yep.
And so as it gets warmer here, they have to go, into the foothills and things like that to get cooler. So that's where, that's how they're migrating. And they're pollinators. They're
exactly
a big plus for pollinators. And they also are a wonderful entertainment factor if you happen to own any cats. Fantastic entertainment. The cats love them, but it is always a problem.
Fun.
It's always the dead bodies and everything here. And we talk about it here. We got a little bit of a vestibule, which means
got to clean them up.
Yep. When you enter our office building here, you have one set of double doors, and then there's another security door behind that you have to scan in the morning, and it goes beep, and then you get to open that door, and then you get to come in, and then you scan it a couple more times before you get up here to the station. But it's in that little glass container. It's about the size of when the radio stations do the funny money thing where the money spin around in the thing. You're supposed to grab all the dollars. That's what it's like, because when you walk over to the door, all of a sudden you've disturbed all of the miller moths. So they literally are flying around just all over your face as you're trying to get through. And I don't know about you, I try to get through those doors and not let any of them in. That's my thing is, because you know they're just going to cause problems.
Best thing you could do, according to the Denver Post, turn off those porch lights at night.
Yeah, very smart. You can also catch them. Soapy water will catch them if you're trying to kill them. But
that's right, if you want to do that. All right, it's been a fantastic show. If you missed any of it, go to 710knus.com. You can download the podcast there. Charlie Kirk is up next. Good friend. Stick around. Listen to him. You're listening to The Jeff and Bill Show.
News Talk 710 KNUS. Have a good Monday.
Yes. Yeah, we'll have all